This is episode 53
Yeah.
of our horror movie review show, I Know What You Watched Last Week, right here on the Heathen Movie Channel. And this week, it's another somewhat of a special, the Thinking Man's Horror Special. So,
Thinking person.
No, let's stick with the classics.
Thinking woman.
I'm not going, inclusive and all that. It's coined as the Thinking Man, so we're sticking with the Thinking Man's Horror. So 3 movies that are kind of over your head, I guess.
Well, I have to admit, there is one where I'm just like, wait, what now? Sorry, what? The other 2, no, I feel like they're pretty clear. But yeah,
so you're a thinking
one
man.
One of them, I have no idea.
2/3 of the time you're a thinking man. Well,
is going on?
I'm a thinking man, so I'll be able to explain it all.
Interesting.
To you.
Okay.
Yes. So what you can introduce what we watched.
Yes, we started off with The Prince of Darkness.
No, we didn't.
Did we not?
No, that was second.
Oh. Are you sure? Did we start with Jacob's Ladder?
Jacob's Ladder. Yes, we started off with the 1990, the original Jacob's Ladder.
I'm already getting things wrong. Okay, so yeah, Jacob's Ladder, then The Prince of Darkness, and finally...
Just Prince of Darkness.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay. I'm getting loads of things wrong already. And finally, Angel Heart.
Yes, Angel Heart. So there again, just to clarify, Jacob's Ladder, Prince of Darkness, Angel Heart. So I am, after hearing that one has gone, frazzled you a little bit, I'm interested to know what your order is.
Yes. Yeah, I think they're all good. So that's,
agreed.
That's one thing to start with.
All these films are good. 2 in particular are exceptional, I'd say.
Interesting, because
one is exceptional.
I was going to say...
One is very entertaining, and one is growing on me.
Yeah, personally, I would say you could... I wouldn't judge anyone for ranking these in any which way.
I don't know, I think there is one clear winner, so that's...
Do you think?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so...
We await with bated breath.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 3rd place to Angel Heart. 2nd place to Prince of Darkness. And 1st place to Jacob's Ladder.
You are correct, sir.
Well, you agree with those?
It is absolutely in that order. Though, for me, yeah, Jacob's Ladder is absolutely out in front. Prince of Darkness number 2. And not because I find it any worse than the other 2 movies, particularly. But yeah, I've got Angel Heart in bottom place. So we'll start with that one. And what we've got here is, with Angel Heart from 1987, is a movie from Alan Parker, Sir Alan Parker, as he was. He also directed The Commitments. He also directed Bugsy Malone and Fame.
Okay, that's the only one I haven't watched.
Forever.
I've seen the first 2
he
mentioned.
also did a lot of work on music videos and such for Pink Floyd's The Wall, which is ultra famous and ultra iconic as well.
So is he British then?
Yes, we have 2 English directors this week. Because obviously the Prince of Darkness is John Carpenter, so elimination is not him. And also it stars Mickey Rourke, Lisa Bonet, and Robert De Niro. And this is pretty much the first time you've seen Mickey Rourke as he was intentioned by God.
Yeah, honestly, because we recently watched him in The Wrestler, and there were moments here and there where I could see that it was the same guy, but it's insane how different he looks. Completely mental. But yeah.
So, summarize as to why you do like this movie or, appreciate it.
Well, first of all, it is largely set in New Orleans, which...
Half of it anyway, yeah.
Which I always love. I think it's just such a great setting for any kind of movie, really, but especially horror. It's got some fantastic performances.
Yeah.
And it's intriguing the whole way through. It reminds me a little bit in the feeling you get from it of the 70s films that we recently watched, in the sense that...
Do you recall, watching this 7 or 8 years ago and just absolutely you just didn't like it whatsoever?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting because this will be the second time you've seen this.
Yes.
This is the fourth time I've seen this, and I feel like it gets better every time I watch it, for reasons I'll get into later. Yeah, so...
Yeah, I can definitely see why I didn't enjoy it so much the first time, and why it is more of a grower. And I
Not
wonder
a shower.
if that's... Yeah, I wonder if that's also because... So, do you know when this film was released or shot?
87.
87, because it's not set in the 80s.
55 it's set.
It's set in 55, and it also deals with stuff that's even in the 40s. So,
yeah, going back pre-World War II and into World War II, yeah.
And I think, first of all, for me at least, realising this time around that it was set in the 50s did have...
Well, did that escape you the first time?
Yeah, I don't think it really... I was like, what? Why is this... Well, there's something really weird about this, because it still has such an 80s look.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it literally comes across the screen, 1955.
Well, you know... I'm not a details person.
This was, like I said, first time I watched it was in your early days when you were poo-pooing a lot of stuff. It was just like, yeah. So I'm glad to know that it has grown on you. So we open up in the classic, lovable shot for me, almost Dutch angle, alleyway, dark, cold, crisp, vapor, all that stuff. And
there's a lot of shots throughout this film that remind me of Heathen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stairwells as well.
Yeah, the stairwell pit is quite different. It's more of an opulent stairwell in this.
But there's still a lot of stairwells.
Yeah, a lot of stairwells. It's kind of a motif, yeah. But the opening, this film is shot quite incredibly. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the cinematography, all that stuff is great. And we open, Mickey Rourke is coming home, he's going down this alleyway. There's a dead body or down and out body. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a dead body in the alleyway. We go into his office, because Mickey Rourke is a gumshoe, right? And he gets a call from an attorney on behalf of a Louis Cypher. Louis Cypher, however you want to say it. Just say it a bunch of times fast.
Well, De Niro does correct him. He's like, it's Cypher.
Yeah. Maybe that's to, blindside him, though. Yeah, so he gets a phone call from an attorney, and Mickey Rourke as Harry Angel Hart. Harry Angel is quite taken aback from the attorney that's getting a call from, because it's a well-known one, and Harry Angel is somewhat of a small time. He's small time. He considers himself small time. He says as much on the phone, but he's pretty much told that Louis Cypher has searched him out.
Yeah, but also when Harry Angel goes to the meeting,
we're not there yet. I'm just
with them. Yeah. But it's quite an important thing is that he asks the attorney and Louis. He's like, oh, how did you guys find me? Is it because I'm Angel, so I'm top of the list in the phone book? And they shake their head like, no, that's not how. But they leave it at that. So there's no further explanation as to why this guy was chosen.
So he makes his way to the building where Louis Cypher.
It's a church, right?
And at first I was thinking to myself, it is a church, because there is a sermon taking place in there from kind of a dishonest...
Yeah, one of those, send
priest.
Me money!
Yeah, one of those guys.
Give me money!
And so, but the thing is, it looked more almost like where he was doing the sermon was almost like kind of theatrish. It had balconies up top and other things like that. And where he's being taken through by Winesap, the attorney, there are other rooms upstairs. And in one of the rooms, as he's been taken through, someone had just clean blown their head off, and someone is wiping down all the blood against the wall. It's the first thing that Harry Angel sees. He kind of like stops for a minute, and Winesap almost says, yeah, some guy just blown his head off because of such and such. Do you remember the reason? It's escaping me at the moment. Not that it's too important, but then they move on and they go into the room where Louis Cypher is sitting, and above him he has all these fans. I'm sticking with Cypher, with these fans. And it is Robert De Niro playing Louis Cypher.
With some very in vogue now nails. Long and pointy.
Well, in vogue if you're Still something of a weirdo, I guess.
No, loads of girls have nails like that now.
And
they love it.
They are gross, in my opinion.
Well, anyway, he has that, and he has a cane which he twirls. And again, the cinematography. So they get scenes where, I guess, Harry is talking to these two and being told what his assignment, and you get the camera sort of showing Harry in the background, and in the foreground you get the top of the spinning cane, and I think a bit of the like long nails, and I just thought it's really simple, but it's so effective. It
is incredibly effective, yes. And you also got Winesap just off to the side, kind of overseeing things, like he's done this 1,000 times almost. He's not. You got to kind of consider that maybe he kind of knows what is going on here from the beginning. But anyway, the assignment in question is that Louis Cypher wants Harry Angel to track down a guy called Johnny Favourite, who was a somewhat famous crooner pre-World War II, who went off to the war and came back with like pretty much amnesia, and has had a facial reconstructive surgery. Things of this nature. So he basically, Louis Cypher has done him a favour, and he needs this favour not repaid, but I guess repaid. He needs the payment for the favour that he has made. And again,
there's no clarity given on what exactly this favour was that Louis, did for him. He wasn't his agent. He makes that clear, but something is owed to him basically.
Once the meeting is over and it becomes apparent what Louis Cypher wants. As they're about to leave, as Harry Angel's about to leave, he stands up, shakes the hand of Louis Cypher, and Louis is like, I feel like I've met you before, and that, if you're paying attention, because I'm paying attention the first time I watch it, but you're just kind of like listening to the dialogue. Once you've seen it a few times, that's our first clue of what is to come later on. I feel like I've met you before.
Yeah, that's not at all something you would be able to get the first watch. You have to know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you have to know what's going to happen.
Also, I think it's quite important that Louis, as I said, I feel like this is some kind of church, but it's obviously crooked because the guy who's like downstairs doing a sermon is clearly not a good guy. He's just trying to get money out of people.
Yeah.
And Louis is upstairs, and he's sat.
Which is not regular for the church.
He's sat in a kind of throne as well.
Yeah, he thinks a lot of himself.
Yeah, and I also think De Niro's performance in this role is really good. It's very subtle, but I love what he does with it. Yeah.
Yeah, so after this meeting, Harry then takes it upon himself to essentially he goes and meets a bunch of people who have had interactions with Johnny Favourite, who have played in the band with Johnny Favourite.
Well, also, because Johnny Favourite, supposedly, after he got amnesia and all this stuff, he was in an asylum sort of thing, and every month or year or something, Louis gotten a letter from the asylum being like, yeah, he's here and he's alive, or something of that nature. But he doesn't think that's true. So Harry's gone to this place now, and he kind of shines on the receptionist a little bit, checks her out.
He puts on the Rook charm.
Uses his charm, to get the information that apparently, according to their charts, he was taken away from this asylum hospital place. Was that quite a while ago?
43, I believe it was. Cause
so 12 years ago, I think
it's written in ballpoint pen, which he makes a point of.
Yeah.
And Harry's, it's like, well, ballpoint. This is written in ballpoint, and ballpoint pen wasn't even around in 43. Technically, it was, but it hadn't come to America.
They're saying, some man, and they find out the name, and some unknown woman took him away.
Yeah. So he goes and tracks down the man, the doctor.
Yeah, that's not the man though. That was
a man who,
but a doctor who was looking after him and assigned him out, kind of thing.
That's what I was talking about, signing him out in the ballpoint. Yeah, so he goes to see him, and he's an older doctor, and he's also a bit of a heroin addict.
Yep, he's getting high on his own supply.
Yeah, he's got a fridge full of little vials of this stuff, and he comes home. Harry Angel's sitting in the dark. Again, we've mentioned it a bunch of times already, but the cinematography in this and the use of the lighting, dark shadows, it's A-list kind of stuff. And while he's sitting in the dark and interrogating the doctor, Harry doesn't feel like he's getting all the information out of him that he wants.
And the doctor's desperate for his drugs.
Doctor's desperate for his fix. So Harry says to him essentially, look, I'm going to go and leave for 20 minutes, half an hour. When I come back, I expect you to be more open with me. So he leaves.
He locks him in his bedroom. Goes to get some coffee or whatever. And when he comes back, he runs up the stairs and he's like, "Doctor, I've got your fix." And
he's a good guy. He's not just going to torture him. He's like, he's going to stick by his word.
Well, do you know what I thought was interesting? Because he says, as you mentioned earlier, that he kind of deals with lower level stuff, but he's a pretty good private investigator, and even the fact that he knows like the symptoms why this doctor is all sweaty and stuff, I mean, yeah, I was quite impressed by his tactics.
I would say the whole sweating, and he's already been through his fridge, is pretty obvious as to why he's like this. But so he goes into the bedroom where he's previously locked the doctor in, but he's missing an eyeball. There's blood all over him. There's a Bible next to him. And, yeah, he's been better.
Well, he's been shot through the head.
Yeah.
And the Bible was hiding the bullets.
Mm-hmm. He opens it up. They all fall out, don't they? Because it's been cut into. And he's quickly out of there, Harry Angel. He's like wiping stuff down because he doesn't want to be connected with anything close to murder, which he will be if he's not too careful, because it seems that everywhere he goes in this movie, people end up dead.
Doctor's just the first of a long list.
Doctor is just the first, yeah. So he leaves him alone. I'm not sure if we have a second victim before he goes and sees Lucifer in the cafe.
Yeah, so we get an empty restaurant, cafe, whatever it might be, and Louis Cypher's the only person there, and he's got a bowl of boiled eggs. And whilst Harry's kind of filling him in on the little information that he's got, and also saying, I don't want to do this job anymore because there's dead bodies now, and I'm kind of starting to be implicated. It's not worth it. Yeah.
Especially for the money he's paying him, essentially.
So Louis Cypher is like, they have these shots of him like cracking open this egg and peeling it with those long, pointy nails, and taking a bite of it and everything, and he talks about how the egg, like in some cultures, represents the soul and things like this. And
that's our second clue, because Lucifer, he offers Harry Angel an egg. Because, further down the line of the movie, again, if you've seen it, you realise at this point that he's already sold his soul somewhere down the line and doesn't have one. And he rejects the egg as well. So
it's the thing about chickens.
He rejects the soul back. And so you've already brought up about, Robert De Niro peeling the egg. And then when he bites into it, I mean, this really is acting, isn't it? Just a man peeling and eating an egg, and it's kind of mesmerising.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I think the two of them work really well off each other, because obviously we've got De Niro acting very regal and contained, and everything's sort of going on behind the scenes. And on the other end, we've got Mickey Rourke, who's a lot more rough around the edges. He's slouching. They're basically opposites, and it works beautifully in this.
You'll be interested to know. So we did the last one we watched last week, and I said about on the production side of things, during the production of Burnt Offerings, that Bette Davis was not getting along with Oliver Reed. Now, in this film, Robert De Niro, as a tactic, decided that he wasn't going to interact at any point with Mickey Rourke because they're adversarial, and one is a certain character, one's another character. Mickey Rourke took this not too well, and wasn't happy that he was just ignored the whole time by Robert De Niro, and to this day has not gotten over it, and still speaks poorly of him. But it clearly has worked for the performance, and I think it might be one of the many reasons why. Because I think we're about 5-6 years away before Mickey Rourke completely burns all his bridges in Hollywood for a long time, and this is the kind of things that he was up to, and he would cause kind of trouble on production. I mean, if you're falling out with De Niro, then you're kind of asking for trouble almost in 1987, aren't you?
Anyway, so going back to the story, Louis Cypher decides to counter his qualms by offering him $5,000, which
in 1955 would be, in today's money, about over 50 grand. Yeah, so nice. You can't say no to that.
And it's interesting. So we first saw Harry meet Louis in what I think was some kind of church place, and you're not sure, but obviously they were doing something downstairs. Then he's got this restaurant thing, which makes him seem like a mob boss.
Mm-hmm.
And we meet him again later. I won't go into like what they're saying or anything, but we then meet him in definitely a church.
Sitting in the pews.
And it's funny because, you know, Louis Cypher is very much like, oh, you know, careful, we're in a church, don't swear, be respectful, this kind of thing.
It's a definite...
And he's still like barely reacting as you would expect to people being dead and stuff. He's like, oh, really? Like, it's so blasé. And on the other hand, you've got Harry Angel, who's, you know, as we said, blaspheming in church and being like, oh, churches creep me out. And again, it all ties in beautifully when you know how the story ends.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the thing that is, you just said it there, when you know.
Yeah.
It's certainly about when you know.
I think by this point, we're in New Orleans.
Well, no, before this, he goes and sees a character called Margaret, played by Charlotte Rampling, the lady who has the maid. The maid comes up to her and speaks in French.
That is in New Orleans, though, isn't it?
I thought that was still in New York at this point. Oh, either way, but there is still a part in New York then where
on the beach
we go to the beach in Coney Island. And
I love that scene.
See, you love the scene. It's one of the things that I actually don't like about the film. Yeah, I don't mind. And I understand why Harry Angel doesn't like chickens. You know, we see later on why he doesn't like chickens. But I don't enjoy the kind of comedic way that it's shown and the way that he goes about it. I wish, for me personally, a movie that is kind of dark like this, I just wish I would have kept it dark. And I'm also a bit funny sometimes about scenes in the great wide open when you've kind of been in dark, more claustrophobic places. So when we do have the scene on Coney Island and he's talking to the guy, it's an overcast day at best, and the guy's sitting on the deck chair on the beach, and he's saying some pretty weird stuff, like he likes to bite the heads off of certain animals and things like this, and he offers Mickey Rourke this pair of glasses with a nose shield from the sun and things, and maybe I'm missing something about that, or maybe it's just filmmaking.
I think again it's just so like bizarre and quirky, and I can understand what you're saying about the wide open space, but I think it works because, as you say, it's like an overcast day, and it's supposed to be Coney Island, so you've got like the fairground bits and stuff behind it, but it's completely dead. Like there's only the two of them there, and it's so strange. Like, why are they there? Why is this guy sunning himself? And his wife is off in the water,
supposedly curing her varicose veins.
Yeah,
in the freezing cold sea.
You know, Harry finds out that his wife was close with this lady that you mentioned, Margaret or something.
Yeah, and knew Johnny Favourite stuff, and
So he talks to her, and that's when I think he finds out that Margaret's now like in New Orleans or something. She's moved down there.
So she's the first person we see in New Orleans.
Yeah,
essentially, right? Yeah, just back to the Coney Island bit for a second. It's
biting heads off rats.
Biting heads off rats. Yeah, that's the animal he goes on about. And just like I say, so the stuff he's saying is dark, and like you say, there's the amusement park in the background is abandoned. Things. It's just that, and it is strange, like you say, but I'm not getting the strange. It's more just strange for me, and I wanted the spooky strange almost. But yeah, just a thing about personal preference for me, really. Once they go to New Orleans, I feel like the movie starts to, not that it's been bad or anything, but it just gets better.
Well, it's New Orleans.
Not even to do with that, just with the whole, because we start to accelerate a little bit, don't we? You know, we've got the whole Toot Sweet, the guy that he goes to see, who's down in a retirement home. We used to play with Johnny Favourite, and of course, Charlotte Rampling. And we also, we would have seen someone else, but there's not too much. Is there much of a significance to the Charlotte Rampling interaction?
Is that Margaret? Right. So
Margaret
she is also into sort of alternative magic and stuff. So he goes there under the guise of wanting to have his future determined or something due based on his birth date, and he kind of brings up Johnny Favourite, and she obviously is quite cold about that, and she's like, well, he's dead to me, kind of thing. So he doesn't get very far, but I suppose it is quite important, because again, it's one of the first introductions we get into the occult.
It is one of it's quite a slow burning introduction into the occult, because we're talking about the occult here with Margaret Krusmark, for instance, and again we're in kind of a daytime scene in a quite opulent room and things like this, and it's just not, I guess it's just not what you're used to in terms of when you are having scenes in movies talking about the occult, oh, should I bring out the fine china and stuff like this. And I did find, still one of my qualms was the Coney Island scene. I also didn't find, even still after the fourth watch, the journey we go through on his investigations with certain characters, I don't find it ultra compelling, I guess. I felt like it, again, I could, just as a personal thing, I would have liked it done in just a darker way, I guess. But maybe that's part of what makes the movie enjoyable for other people, that it's done in such a kind of blasé, everyday style.
Well, I think that has a large part to do with why I didn't like it the first time, because it's a much more, like, you have to pay attention, and again, I think it helps when you know what the end is, so that you can kind of enjoy the small little details throughout
definitely.
it. So I can definitely understand what you're saying. It's not an instant impact kind of film.
That is the end, by the way, of what I didn't enjoy. It's just literally just a couple of things, just that scene at the beach, and just the him going in, interviewing everybody, I guess. I think my favourite interaction of the interviews was the original one, so the doctor. So when he sees the doctor, that's done in the dark way, and then it's done in quite a different way after that. So I thought it was going to stay in the same kind of dark vein.
So I think the next person he meets is the girl. What's her name? It's something.
You mean Epiphany?
Epiphany, that's it. Epiphany.
You've got to take note of the name, obviously.
Yeah. And she is beautiful.
Lisa
He says it a lot. She is beautiful. So yeah, Lisa Bonet. At first, she's kind of saying like she's never heard of the guy.
Johnny Favourite.
Oh, and by the way, the reason that Harry Angel is going to talk to her is because of her mum was apparently a flame of Johnny Favourite's.
Yeah, and she was also a voodoo priestess.
And a voodoo priestess. So we don't really find out much. She's obviously just living in poverty. She doesn't seem to know anything about any of the people that Harry is bringing up.
Yeah, notice how at this scene, the dog also runs and attacks Harry Angel before he gets to kind of speak with her. And that's, if you start thinking about it, it's because he doesn't have a soul. That's why the dog has, it's not just a dog attack for a dog attack's sake. You really have to look into every single little thing, going back to the egg as well. Yeah.
And then after this first interaction, not getting much out of Epiphany, he goes and tracks down Toot Sweet.
Toot Sweet, yeah.
Who's performing somewhere local. And again, he doesn't really... He's like, oh, I met him like a couple of times or whatever. And Harry Angel follows him into the bathroom. And
everyone's kind of vague, aren't they? Everybody is very vague.
Very vague. And when they get followed, when Harry follows Toot Sweet into the bathroom...
It's fun to say.
Toot Sweet. Toot Sweet notices a, like, chicken
claw.
Foot.
And, chicken foot.
Which I guess is, like, a sign of something bad to come.
Yeah, it must
warning.
Be a voodoo thing, isn't it? Chicken feet. And, again, with that... With the whole I don't like chickens thing, that was also done in a reasonably comedic way, because a big like bouncer guy comes into the bathroom or meets Harry just outside the bathroom and gets the chicken foot and kind of like rubs it in his face, like, oh, I hate chickens. I guess I'm just so over comedic bits in serious horror movies that it could have just been done in a slightly different way, I guess.
But anyway, Harry Angel clearly thinks that Toot Sweet knows more than he's letting on.
Yeah.
So he follows him, and we then get Toot Sweet and Epiphany. So Harry Angel is kind of hiding off in the bushes watching a
voodoo ritual.
Yeah, like a ceremony thing where she is clearly being taken over by...
She's got the spirit in her.
Yeah,
she's got the spirit, and she also has a chicken. And this is now revealed as to why it seems that Harry Angel doesn't like chickens, because Epiphany's mother... a lover of Johnny Favourite, was, as we've already mentioned, a voodoo priestess. Now also Epiphany has been going down the same lines from a very young age, because she's still young in the movie. I believe she says she's 17.
17, yeah.
And she's dancing around this fire with the spirit inside her. She has a chicken in her hands. She rises it above her, slits the chicken open, and she gets drenched in the chicken blood as Harry Angel's watching in the distance from the bushes as, you know, all the voodoo drumming is going on. Very cool scene. People would say that kind of New Orleans voodoo, it's cliche, but I would say I haven't seen it enough almost. There aren't that many movies that really deal with it, and so every time I see it, I'm always kind of pumped, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, if I hadn't mentioned it already, this is clearly the scene as to why it's showing why Harry Angel doesn't like chickens.
Yeah, you did mention that, but I'm still not really understanding.
Well, he just doesn't like the whole thing of it in general. Just, you know, he's seen the animal sacrifice. You know, I feel like what we found out later on, he's got himself in too deep, and he's not prepared for animal sacrifices, and it seems to be always a chicken. Yeah, that's what I'm getting from it.
Actually, he did get something from Epiphany the first time. She said that apparently her mum had told her that
Epiphany sounds like a fragrance.
that Johnny was as close to evil as she ever wanted to get.
Yeah, and that's explained to us kind of towards the end by the Gumbo Man, as I call him, the guy who ends up...
That's Margaret's dad.
And unfortunate fate into Gumbo. Yeah, yes. Margaret Krusemark's... yeah.
Yeah, so at this point, have we had... Right, so then Toot Sweet turns... Harry Angel follows Toot Sweet back to his place again and is like, look, I know you know something and you're not telling me. But again, Toot Sweet's just like not really giving out any info. So Harry Angel leaves the meeting having said, like, you know, call me, and stuffs it in his mouth kind of thing.
Yeah, we're getting to the point where Harry Angel is looking into the mirror and he's starting to have kind of visions, flashbacks of 1943, I believe. And it's soldiers returning from the war in New York, where I believe we're in Times Square, and you get that classic thing.
I think it's the New Year's Eve thing as well.
New Year's Eve party where, you know, you have soldiers lying in the streets and they're kind of like bending the women over and kissing them, that kind of thing. And the camera of his vision is someone walking up to a guy with his back to us, and he kind of half turns, and then we come back to Harry Angel in the room, looking into the mirror, looking a bit, not confused, almost... Yeah, I guess I'll go with not confused. It's more like he's almost remembering something of significance.
Yeah, it's a memory that he can't quite...
Yeah, can't put his finger on as to what the reveal is.
And to be fair, then they don't really go into much of his history. He does mention once briefly that he had a little stint in the army, but that's pretty much all of his history that we get. So it seems like he's forgotten a lot.
When we now go back to Harry Angel visiting Epiphany again, she reveals that Johnny Favourite was her father. She also, she also reveals that she is 17 years old, all these other things, and she's clearly not an innocent 17-year-old because she's talking about the best lay that she's ever had and things like this. There's clearly an instant attraction between the two, and this is why the movie is better after watching it, because she's revealed that Johnny Favourite was her father, as I just said, and now we have quite prolonged and intense sex scene between the two of them. And while the sex is going on, there's holes in her roof where she's living, so it's been raining, but while they're making love, if I can even call it that, blood starts to come through these holes and drench them while they're in the throes of passion.
Yeah, it's quite a disturbing, gruesome scene.
Yeah, after they finished in the bedroom, almost straight away, he's been getting quite rough with her, kind of like strangling her and stuff like this. She cries out at the end of it. He walks up to a mirror, he punches the mirror, bloodies his hand. So it's a very strange ending to a lovemaking scene. And not long after that, we then have Epiphany in the tub, and she's singing a Johnny Favourite tune. Harry Angel walks up to her, and he's like inquisitive. He's like, "What is that tune?" You almost feel like he knows the song. He's so intrigued by, where have you heard that song? What is it? It's not like, oh, what's the song? I like it. It's, where have you heard that? What is the song? So again, that's another clue. Like, we go back to I feel like I've met you before. You know what I'm getting at, yeah? Yeah,
of course I do. Yeah. And this is also when we get the two policemen coming. It's not at Epiphany's place where the blood scene happens. It's at Harry Angel's hotel room.
His digs. Right.
Yeah, so the policemen come to him there shortly after their love
They
making.
clearly need to do some maintenance in this hotel then.
And they inform him that Toot Sweet has been offed. And not only is he offed, but he's had his genitals cut off and shoved into his own mouth.
Not the way you want to go.
No. And we've also got, obviously, as we mentioned, Harry left his, contact details there, which is why the police are saying, why are you here and what have you got to do with this guy's murder?
I think, again, what we're hearing, about the guy having his junk chopped off and stuffed into his mouth. In theory, yeah, it's gruesome, it's grim and everything, but again, just the way it's told, it's just, again, it's daylight, and it's, I ended up, his junk cut off and put in his mouth. It's the subject matter is so much darker than what you actually see on screen.
There's also some kind of one-liner later about him, I don't even remember, but it was definitely something to do with that.
We're quite close to the end of the movie now, and he goes to see, as I've called him, Gumbo Man. We're at the races, I believe.
I think
at the end.
Is this before or after Margaret?
Oh yeah, Margaret's obviously been turned up dead, you mean?
So okay, so this is the other thing. So we've had genitals in mouth of Toot Sweet, and Harry Angel goes back to Margaret's place, opens the door, and when he gets in there, he sees that Margaret's also been offed, and she's had her chest cut open, and her heart is lying on a desk over a piece of paper or something. And
throughout the movie, we've had dun 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 dun, a beating heart all throughout the score.
But what's also interesting is that Harry Angel, every time he comes across these dead bodies, especially Margaret's, he's really struggling to keep the vomit down, and
he can't comprehend
he's
it,
uncomfortable with it, and it's one of the reasons why he says to Louis Cypher that he's not happy with this job. He's like, I don't do well with dead bodies. But then he goes to Gumbo Man, who is a high society guy and the father of Margaret.
Yeah, and it's him. He takes Harry away from the races, takes him into this shack in the back where this giant pot of gumbo
Bubbling gumbo
is cooking, and he doesn't want any gumbo. He says he's got a bit of a dodgy stomach, Harry Angel. He can't handle it, and it's this point where we're getting to the part of the movie where it's all going to dawn on Harry Angel what's been going on, why Louis Cypher has got a hold of him to track down Johnny Favourite. And Gumbo Man informs him that Johnny sold his soul to the devil for fame and was deep into the occult. He had the voodoo priestess lover, as we already mentioned, and he ate a boy's beating heart. So he cut out a boy's beating heart, and it was almost like when Gumbo Man explains to him, if it's happened before, and it would have done, normally it seems like people would wait a minute before the heart stopped beating, because he makes it exponentially clear that he didn't even wait for anything. He just took it out while it was still beating and devoured it instantly. This is how much he wanted it. He wasn't thinking about anything. He was just going for it straight away. Ate a boy's beating heart. And it's at this point that it dawns on him that Epiphany is his daughter. So
I feel like, okay, so nothing you've said is wrong, but I think you're missing out some important details, which is...
Well, I wasn't quite done, but, go.
Which is that Margaret had taken Johnny to a New Year's parade in Times Square.
And we get another flashback of that as well.
And the heart that he ate was a soldier's heart. Mm-hmm. And he did it because he was trying to foil the devil. He didn't want to give up his soul, so he was doing this to sort of hide himself.
Why he's been missing for these 12 years away from the grasp of Louis Cypher.
Yeah, and Margaret took the soldier whose body was taken over, took his dog tags. Yeah, and the names on the dog tags
match up with
Harry Angel.
Yeah.
And that's when he realises that he is actually
Johnny Favourite.
And that's, so...
When Mickey Rourke is looking in the mirror, when he realises in a bit... Actually, well, but before we get to that, but yeah, we now see... The reason I'm calling him Gumbo Man is because they say every single person that has come into contact with Harry Angel has ended up dead. And Gumbo Man is no different, and he is face down in the giant pot of gumbo.
He's been boiled.
Yeah, been boiled to death in gumbo. Is that a better way to go than, junk strewn down your throat? Probably. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, so when we say really into the cult, he really is into the occult. The stuff that he's been doing, the stuff that he's been around, and the revelation that Epiphany is his daughter, and previously we've already seen this pretty rough sex scene between the two of them. That's why the first time we see the movie is not as kind of impactful, because it's you don't know it yet, so you kind of like you're left to know everything afterwards. Like, oh my god, that was his daughter. When you're seeing it for a second or a third time and events are leading up to it, and when I first saw him meet his daughter Epiphany, I actually looked over to you like this because I was trying to see if you remembered what the deal was between them two, because already the movie was so much more affecting to me seeing it afterwards than not for the first time, because I knew it was coming and I didn't want it to I didn't want it to happen. I was like, I can't believe you're going to go into this room and have your way with your young daughter. It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening kind of stuff.
And she also is offed with a gun up her nether regions, apparently.
And who's done that? Yeah.
But this is the thing. So he's obviously getting like moments of being taken over by Johnny and moments of being Harry, because he's not faking in private to himself that he's shocked and disgusted by these dead bodies. He is genuinely unaware. And again, when that sex scene happens, he has no idea that his soul has been sort of somewhat taken over and all of this stuff. But that is one thing that kind of confuses me slightly, is why he's still kind of Harry Angel and then just has random moments of clearly being taken over by Johnny and committing these murders. Surely either Johnny Favourite has taken over the body or he hasn't.
I think that's just to do with the occults. You're not everything is set out, linear. And spells, or whatever you want to call the things that he's doing, eating the heart and stuff like that, it's not like it has to completely consume you 100% of the time. So you always can go back to, not your old life, but who you actually are before you were this, depraved individual. All this has been revealed to him as well, while, he's always spoken to Gumbo Man, and it becomes even clearer to him when he's speaking again to Louis Cypher. And we get the final scene between Mickey Rourke and Robert De Niro. It's probably my favourite one after, well, I would say the pew scene.
Pew, pew, pew?
Yeah, pew, church pew, pew scene is one of my favourites, because you have the quote, which I've written down, when, obviously, if you say his name now, if it hasn't become clear, Lucifer, he's Lucifer. He's Lucifer, he is the devil. Robert De Niro is the devil. And when they're sitting in the church pew, he says, there's just enough religion in the world to make people hate one another, but not enough to love. And there are other quotes in this movie along those lines, which kind of hard-hitting stuff, if you want to call it that. And when he's talking to Lucifer at the end, and he's looking in the mirror, Mickey Rourke's looking in the mirror as Harry Angel, saying, I know who I am. I know who I am. And he's breaking down, because he clearly...
performance.
That's what I was going to say. What an incredible piece of acting, because as you mentioned earlier on, all throughout the rest of the movie, he's kind of a little bit happy-go-lucky, isn't he? He's kind of loose.
He's from Brooklyn
and happy. Yeah, he reminds me of a bit of Bruce Willis almost in the early parts, in a good way. And when it gets to the end, and this this revelation has come over him as to what he's been doing, and he can't quite believe it. He can't grasp the insanity of it all. Yeah, Mickey Rourke's acting is out of this world.
And again, it's his loss, I think.
And he's on screen with Robert De Niro, and he's at least matching him. I would say probably even bettering whatever. I'm not saying
Yeah, well, he's got more to,
but he's got more to do, obviously.
show and
yeah,
do, yeah.
But it's not easy to not be blown off screen by the likes of De Niro, Al Pacino's, and those kind of people, especially 40 years ago as well.
So essentially, Lucifer, Louis Cypher, put him on the case of himself to kind of work out that he has sold his soul and there's no escape.
He's got to come to the conclusion that there's also the other quote. No, because essentially it's implied by Louis Cypher that Johnny Favourite / Harry Angel's known all along. So he says, no matter how slowly you sneak up on the mirror, you'll never be surprised by your own reflection looking back at you. Something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, that's what he's saying. No matter, it's almost like no matter how much you lie to yourself or how in denial you are only lying to yourself, and you'll always know.
I think that scene as well that you mentioned just now about him, I know who I am thing, it's kind of like, he's also mourning the loss of like the life that he should have had as Harry Angel, because obviously that was taken from him by Johnny Favourite and eating his heart and taking over his body and everything. But there's also, he's completely accepted that, yeah, the game is up, like I need to pay for what I've done now, because, we get the very knowing look from Lucifer being like, yep, you figured it out. I own your soul. You can't get away from me.
He loves that he's figuring it out and that he's known all along, doesn't he? And you completely get that from Robert De Niro's performance.
Yeah, definitely. And we also get the scene right at the end when the two kind of bumbling, useless cops have found his daughter's body, and he's like, and they ask her like, who is she? He's like, that's my daughter, and he's obviously devastated and stuff. And they're like, oh, you're going down for this. And he's like, I know, I'm going to hell.
You're going to fry for this, you're going to burn for this. And he says, yes, in hell.
Yeah.
He knows that he because the cops intimate, you're just going to, it's that figure of speech. You're going to burn for this. But he knows, he's actually going to a legitimate hell. And then at the end.
Well, also, surely, because they know he's going to get the death penalty.
And at the end, we get the symbolism of him descending into hell, because he's in like an industrial elevator. Again, incredible lighting, stuff like this, and the credits roll and they're interspersed with Harry Angel just slowly going down
and down and down
in
and down.
the elevator until he finally hits the ground floor.
That was also actually something that was going through the film. This elevator it's
a motif,
it's been shown, and again, my God, it looks beautiful. Like. Yeah. The light shining through the lattice work and the scale of the building and everything, it looks fantastic.
From the beginning, as I mentioned, the alleyway shot with the vapor, and like I say, towards the end, it's all there on a cinematic level, and even though we've both put this in third place, that's absolutely not to say that this is a worse movie than the other two that we're gonna talk about. It's just that also one of the reasons I was slightly, I guess, disappointed the first time I saw it is because it's a more subtle horror.
Exactly.
It's a much more subtle horror, and it's more subtle horror. It almost
you don't see any of the deaths. No. You just either hear about them or see the body after it's all happened. So there's not much like of that element going for it.
And I really have to get the point across that if, like me and like yourself, if you don't quite enjoy it as much as you think you might on the first viewing, don't give up on it. Give it a bit of time and go back to it. Even go back to it a third time. There aren't many movies where you have to go back to it to understand it better almost. But with this one, it definitely is more effective knowing what is coming. And there aren't many movies like that where it's more effective after you already know.
For me, I call it now the psycho effect, which is when you go into a film kind of half paying attention. You can't do that with these films, because it's not a visual stabbing and all of this kind of thing. It really is, you have to pay attention to all the names and all because again, I think the first time I watched it, I was super confused. I was like, wait, what? Who is he? And it just didn't make any sense. And I probably wasn't paying enough attention to the names that were mentioned and all of this stuff. So it was just kind of, it was just confusing.
There's also, when we first go and see Louis Cypher, he has these fans above him.
Yeah.
And there's constantly the shots are always going back to these slow moving fans in all these different buildings, and it's almost like showing that his destiny, he's going to be pushed to his destiny no matter how slowly, because he's been missing for 12 years, whatever. It's always going to get him. I feel like that's what the fans were constantly about. There's no, the kind of movie it is, they're not showing these fans constantly for no reason. So I was just thinking to myself, the fourth time I've seen it, I was like, right, the fans are almost like the winds of time.
What does it mean?
Yeah, and they're pushing. And funnily enough, do I or do I not open in the short film pretty much on a fan slowly spinning in Heathen as well. Yeah, so a lot take in with this. Nothing should be ignored. Something else which is incredible about this as well, based in 55. Now, normally when people make movies and say, oh, it's based in, say, 97, based in 2003, whatever year you want to give it, all of the set dressing will be of stuff from the year that it's based in. In this movie, you've got things from the 30s, from the 40s, up to 1955, because no one lives in their house with items just from that year. That's something else that I noticed, and it's we're right now in 2025, but over there I've got a Nintendo 64 and a PlayStation 2. Not just, or I don't have a PS5, but you know what I'm getting at. You don't have just, oh yeah, this is 1955. I've solely only got things that were invented and came out in 1955. It's stupid, and this movie doesn't do that. It has things from all over, because everyone's not buying new stuff all the time, and everyone's not rich.
It still felt quite 80s to me, though, which I think, again...
I'm not getting the 80s from this whatsoever. That's what I think was so great about cinematography and the set dressing and the lighting and the colour palette of the movie is not... It's not 87 to me whatsoever. Moving on, though, to the next movie, which is also from 87, directed by the one and only John Carpenter. I would call this one of his possibly lesser known movies, because no one ever really mentions it when I bring up John Carpenter.
Not that that's surprising.
For this past month or so, I've been a little bit obsessed with this film. I've watched it at least 4 times in the past few weeks, just because I was getting so much enjoyment out of it. Like I say, this is the thinking man's kind of horror movie, so there's a lot more to get into with this film than, say, Halloween, for instance. So how did you enjoy this one?
Yeah, I think this one's good fun.
This one is... It's almost like... I'll put it second because it's just like more enjoyable movie than Angel Heart. Not to say that it's better or anything like that. Yeah, and in this we've got... if you're a fan of John Carpenter movies, whether the horror ones or like the action ones like Big Trouble in Little China, we've got Victor Wong, who is obviously in that movie as well. We've got Donald Pleasance. Don't have to say what he's from with John Carpenter previously.
I can't really see him as any other role, though. Seeing him in this as he's like a priest or something,
he's always Dr. Loomis to you, yeah?
Always Dr. Loomis.
So he's not even Blumfeld, the inspiration for Dr. Evil.
I can still just see him being like, here's my patient. Just doesn't, yeah.
We also have Oscar winner Lisa Blount, Oscar winner for a short film rather than her acting. She's the one with the terrible haircut in this, who acts for the most part opposite Jameson Parker, who I mentioned in a Thought of the Day recently because of his stunning tash in this film. We also get a guy called Dennis Dunn, who I haven't seen him much, but he's the comedy relief in this, who I really enjoyed. You liked his outfit. And I'm about to say of course, but also we have Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
In this film, the shock rocker himself, shock rocker so number one, random. Alice Cooper.
So, is there a story behind that you know of, or
they just know each other? And he was offered the part, and he was told what he had to do with it, which was not much.
Not much.
Yeah, and he pulls off doing not much pretty well. Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of summarize what this is. So, following the death of a priest who belonged to a mysterious sect called Brotherhood of the Sleep, a bizarre canister of swirling green liquid, a vat, if you want, of swirling green liquid, is found by Donald Pleasance in a church basement. And Donald Pleasance's name in this, by the way, is simply Priest. So Priest calls in a group of physics graduate students who are led by Professor Birak, played by Victor Wong, who discover that the liquid is the essence of Satan, who is looking to bring forth his father, the anti-god. So even more evil than Satan. Yeah.
Yeah. The first thing that astounded me with this movie was the fact
Victor Wong's
that
facial hair? Jameson Parker's facial hair?
No, I mean, there was some astounding facial hair and just hair in general in this, but no, the thing that astounded me was when down in the like basement area,
The church basement
of the church, where this canister that you mentioned is with the essence,
the green swirling
of the devil.
essence.
There's like thousands of candles, and they're always lit.
Well, as you mentioned when we were watching this, you know, I was on my 4th watch of the week or whatever, and you were on the first one watching it properly, and you mentioned, the candles lit.
Who lit all those candles?
Well, you've got to understand, the essence of Satan is in here, so you don't need anyone to light candles. Satan is there; he can do whatever the hell he wants.
What? So he likes candlelight.
Also, it looks incredible. It looks amazing. Hence why I had so much candlelight in the pawn shop in Heathen.
It made me
and it
think
was
of
you
that.
had to light all of those candles.
It made me think of that. We had like those gigantic bags full of tea lights, and every time we were going to shoot, I had to light every single candle. And then I was like always saying to you, I was like, John, we need to get the shot because the candles are going to burn out within a few hours. Like,
yeah.
I mean, candles are a bit of a nightmare
to
work with.
I'd say the
honest.
reason that we managed to shoot fast now is because of candles. Because the candles always in my head. Got to get in quick. Can't let the candle burn out. So, but still, regardless of lighting these candles, in churches and stuff, there is a thing of lighting candles constantly. So maybe it's just
but that was a lot of
candles, but it looks
absolutely
fantastic.
But I felt sorry for the
set dressers
who had to go off and light them all the time and replace them.
Yeah, we get at the opening of this film something that I really enjoy, where you have opening credits interspersed with action from the movie. So it's not just here's credits for the next 5 minutes. We're seeing the credits, but we're moving the story along. So that's just something that I enjoy from this. And we've got people walking around campus, and you can tell that this is shot anamorphically because of the way that stuff bulges out at you and things. It looks amazing in that sense as well. And the reason that this film, a John Carpenter movie, you may not associate, not that The Thing is a dumb movie or that Halloween is a dumb movie or anything like that, but this is the thinking man's week. And the reason that this is entered is you get, and I find it quite compelling, theoretical, religious, scientific discussion all in one. And clearly this is something that fascinates John Carpenter himself because he's written this movie. So all of when we're getting these opening credits, we get Victor Wong as Professor Birak, I believe his name is, and he's teaching a class and he's talking about classical reality and our understanding of reality and how it all breaks down on the subatomic level. And I've got the quote up here of his when he opens the teaching, and this is what we get. Let's talk about our beliefs and what we can learn about them. We believe that nature is solid and time a constant. Matter has substance and time a direction. There is truth in flesh and the solid ground. The wind may be invisible, but it's real. Smoke, fire, water, light. They're different, not as to stone or steel, but they're tangible. And we assume time is narrow because it is as a clock. 1 second is 1 second for everyone. Cause precedes effect. Fruit rots. Water flows downstream. We're born, we age, we die. And the reverse never happens. None of this is true. Say goodbye to classical reality because our logic collapses on the subatomic level into ghosts and shadows. Now, that's pretty interesting stuff. No? You're not buying it? So are you not a fan of like theoretical...
No? I find it very frustrating. And even the main girl and the...
Lisa Blount.
And the well-dressed guy.
Jameson Parker with a tash.
Who I think it suggests he's gay, by the way, isn't he?
Oh, no, you're talking about Dennis Dunn, the little Asian fella.
Yeah, Dennis Dunn. She's like trying to say to him about Schrodinger's cat. And he's having none of it. And I'm totally with him. you know, the whole thing is like, oh, but, you know, if this cat's in the box and no one sees it, is it really there? I'm like, yes, it's fucking there. Like, she's like, is it though? And I was like, well, the cat would say it is, wouldn't it?
And yeah, Dennis Dunn's character, he does say, you know, it makes no sense. But Lisa Blount says, you know, that's the whole point. It doesn't make sense to us, because even, you know, Einstein had, you know, was it the theory of relativity? But then he also had the other theory of stuff that can't necessarily be proved by physics, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible, obviously.
I've just always found these, let's call them like philosophical questions, to be really frustrating, because yes, you can dissect everything. And again, like, time as we see it is like a man-made thing. Value as we see it is man-made. I understand all of that, but what difference does it make questioning this stuff? You just go down a rabbit hole of nothing.
But you don't find it interesting then? So that interests me more than, you know, definite science. Not that definite science isn't interesting, of course it is. And obviously religious discussions also, religious discussions is pretty much theoretical as well, because you can't prove that, you know, people were flying in the sky and stuff like this. You know, so that's almost, it's only really science that is there. But not that long ago, you know, it wasn't like the brightest minds in the world thought that the Earth was flat. And it's only more recently that it's come to light that it's not. All these other things. So like I say, in Thought of the Day that you said once, where I don't shut my mind off to anything, especially when it comes to ghosts and shadows, and once it is away from the subatomic level, what the hell is energy, existence, all that kind of stuff. So if we get away from this for a second and get back to the story, Priest, played by Donald Pleasance, he brings in Victor Wong's professor, and he brings in a load of guys and girls who are, you know, they're going and they don't yet have their qualifications and stuff like that. But this is going to go a long way into them getting that. And
also it's a few different departments. Like our main characters that we are introduced to and that we follow are the physics. Yeah. Whether it's practical or theoretical, there's a mix. But there are some other departments. There's quite a lot of
characters in this. I've obviously not written them all down, but written down the main ones.
We also get a little romance story starting very early on, before we even get to this church.
Between the mustachioed Jameson Parker and Lisa Blount, yeah,
and you know, classic moment of him saying something about not getting pretty women in their department, and she's like, well, that's not true, and it's extremely sexist.
Confirmed sexist, and proud of it.
Yeah, he was only joking though. Don't worry.
But she doesn't take that as a joke straight away, so he has to explain himself. He's like, whoa.
She's very forgiving though when he's like, I was just kidding.
And maybe we could go for a coffee.
And it only takes, I think, like 2 dates before they're in bed together.
Yeah, they go for coffee, obviously off screen, and then pretty much either later on that night they go for coffee again, or it's the next night. It's either 1 or 2, so it's only been like 24 hours, and she's like, this is becoming a habit, and then it cuts.
Well, it's true love, Johnny.
And they're waking up in bed together.
There's no delaying true love.
It is true love. Yeah, you can't delay true love. Well said. Yeah. So we have all these physicists here, and they're eventually told what they think is going on here, that the essence of Satan is in this canister. So they got the computers out, and they're getting all the translations through.
Well, they're having to camp out at this church, essentially, aren't they, for the weekend? They have to build
cots for the weekend, stuff like that. And Dennis Dunn's character is very unhappy because he has very important plans for the weekend.
He had a date.
Yeah, had a date. And so they got the old school computers out, and everything's being translated for them, and I think it's from Latin into.
Well, I think they're actually saying that there are multiples. So they've got this ancient book, and it's got the information written on it, as you just mentioned. You know, they eventually decipher that basically the devil or something planted his son in the ground, and this brotherhood of, you know, the secret sect who didn't even talk to the Vatican about what they were doing, they've been protecting the world from this canister, which is the devil spawn or whatever. Yeah. And
but now the end is nigh.
The devil wants to come out and bring his dad into the
nothing
earth.
Can save them.
But basically this book, they were saying that it's really difficult because it's got multiple different ancient languages, and it feels like certain bits have been rubbed out and then written on top of, and all of this stuff. Yeah.
And everything that's coming through the computer is on the lines. So like I said, Satan is coming. Your books and your beliefs and your faith, nothing nothing's going to help you from what is to come very
Yeah.
soon. So we get some of like the more of the side characters at one point. They go down and they're looking at this canister in the church basement, the wonderful church basement with all the candles. And as they're looking up to it, the vat shoots out the green liquid into their mouths, kind of choking, and then they are risen as not quite zombies, but they're almost like very well put together zombies or possessed beings, possessed drones who are now been overtaken by the essence of Satan, unbeknownst to everyone else who hasn't been shot in the mouth with this essence.
We've also had, by the way, the basement bit is beautiful, but the actual church is just like
it's derelict almost,
cheap,
isn't
modern,
it?
ugly thing in my opinion.
The street that it's on is like Skid Row almost.
And we also haven't even mentioned,
that.
I think so Alice Cooper, that we mentioned, is in it. He's a bum in this, a homeless man, I suppose.
Like one of the street people, and they're all gathering outside.
They're clearly being drawn towards the church by something, and as the film progresses, we see them like more and more just surrounding and being really weird, and you know, our characters notice it from the start when they're unloading their equipment from the vans, but they have more and more interactions. And for example, at one point, one of the side characters, let's say, he decides he doesn't really fancy this. He thinks, you know, it's all a load of
hooey.
And so he's going to leave, but he doesn't get very far, does he?
Yeah, because as he leaves, this is quite close to the beginning of the movie, so we've already had a couple of people squirted in the mouth. And as this guy decides to leave, outside it's nighttime now, so we've begun everything in the day, and he kind of goes around the corner and he sees Alice Cooper standing there, so he thinks, I'm going to turn back. As he turns around, there are several people up the stairs from whence he's came from. So he decides, probably my best chance is I'm going to go back towards Alice Cooper, or at least just stand here and not going towards all the people. Alice Cooper has come across a mangled bicycle, and he walks towards the guy, and he puts the mangled bicycle through his stomach.
Straight through the torso,
And it's a great kill. You get the bicycle body through the stomach, and we get the shooting blood from behind him.
Yeah.
And to be fair to Alice Cooper, like we say, he hasn't got much to do. But that to me, it sticks in the mind the way that he goes about it. I think he's he sells it very well.
He's got a great look for
he does
horror
have a great
as well,
look
doesn't
for
he?
horror,
Let's be honest.
I mean, he's surrounded himself with it all his career. So what I especially love, not just has Alice Cooper completely sold this killing, but during the killing, there's a song called "Prince of Darkness" playing. By the one and only Alice Cooper. So Alice Cooper's on screen killing a man to his own music named after the movie. You can't beat that, Karen. Can't beat that.
We also get another guy who reneges, is like, basically a whole bunch of people don't believe,
what they're being told. They're scientists.
Most people wouldn't.
Yeah.
Nowadays, at least.
Especially scientists.
So another guy tries to leave, and there's a homeless lady who we saw earlier in the film kissing the priest's hand, being like, thank you.
She had ants all over her,
She had a cup full of like maggots and worms and stuff. Anyway, she
Very
comes
ominous.
and she offs this guy, and his colleagues find him. He's like calling out to them, and when they see him, they're all watching him because he's like shedding cockroaches, I think it is.
Beetles.
Some kind of beetle, he's shedding beetles.
Covered in beetle torso, man. And when they do hear him through the window, it's clearly not his voice anymore. It's a
weird.
kind of weird voice like this, nothing will save you kind of thing. And they're watching these beetles come in. We're getting these great close shots of beetles surrounding his feet, beetles crawling all over him, and all of a sudden his head leaves his body,
falls off.
And the rest of his body just kind of like a sack just falls to the floor like this into just a giant pile.
Looks very good.
It looks great. And even before anything nasty's begun to happen at the beginning, when the credits are coming and stuff like this, and people just walking through the campus, the camera does go to a bit of the campus on the floor, and just loads of like ants. They have that great sound.
And we also get on
on the window.
The outside of the windows is what I was about to mention. So again, our main girl notices it first, and you've just got all these like worms and stuff on the other side, and it's obviously really weird because worms don't attach to windows that are like, you know, vertical or whatever, but they're just all over and they're like massing more and more. And I think we are kind of told by what their research is, you know, showing them, etc., that the animals and the people, the street people as they call them, they're all clearly being affected by this mass, the matter, that they're trying to figure out how to stop it. And I also think it's really beautiful how, so the only thing in this film that made it a bit silly to me was the actual like liquid. Okay. It just looked a bit...
I guess it was an 87 effect.
It looked a bit childish movie kind of thing, which is a shame. But what they did really well...
I can see that, but then again, I guess, how would you have the essence of Satan shown, really? I don't know. There would be probably other ways, but there's not a lot you can do, I suppose.
I just think I would have used a bit less like effects and just had an actual...
Yeah, you could also have a cauldron almost or something like that. Yeah.
But anyway, what they do...
I thought it was quite cinematic, actually, that vat. I quite liked it.
Yeah, you and I have slightly different tastes.
I get what you're saying, though. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But what I thought was really cool was, I think it's actually just before the first woman gets the squirt in the mouth, is we see the like bits of liquid escaping.
Oh yeah,
and they're dripping upwards.
Yeah.
And this like puddle is forming on the ceiling. I thought that was really cool, and it's something they continue as a theme. Yeah.
Yeah, it carries on the I was about to say campus. They've kind of turned it into a campus almost, haven't they? Because they've got their scientific stuff everywhere, and more people are being infected with this liquid, but not by the vat itself. The people who have now been shot into the mouth. For instance, so Dennis Dunn, I keep calling the actor. His character's name Walter. He encounters the bespectacled lady at the end of a hallway, and he's kind of like talking to her, and she's just kind of standing there not responding whatsoever. So he goes into a side room. As he goes to a side room, another character comes into him and says, "Oh, have you seen so-and-so, this lady?" He goes, "Yeah, she was just out there." He goes out and obviously she's gone. The next time we see her, she is attacking somebody with someone else and shooting liquid into other people's mouths.
Slow.
It's a slow beginning, essentially.
Build to that. So clearly, we know that someone's been, I guess, possessed or you know, minionized for the devil.
Yeah.
But she's, as you said, so that guy's like talking to her down the hallway, and she doesn't, you know, run and attack him or anything like that. It's much more subtle. Yeah. It's almost like they're waiting for their power and numbers to build up before they show anything.
These are smart drones.
And it's actually. So the girl who was translating the book, working on the computer, she is lying in her cot to get some sleep, and Specs girl, who's been, you know, mouth blasted, comes and like crawls over her in like a, you know, the other woman's just lying underneath her like, what are you doing?
She's almost like, I'm not that way inclined.
Yeah. And then that's when we get her, you know, spewing into her mouth.
She's made the mistake of opening her mouth around this drone who can now spit the essence of Satan into other people's mouths.
Pretty gross.
So yeah, this is how they build up their army. And after that, like you say, because she's not made an attack on Walter when he first sees her, she's now gone and got the Asian doctor lady who she's spat into the mouth of. So now every time we see those two, they're always together, taking on one person, so they've always have strength in numbers.
And the others are kind of starting to wonder, because obviously, so we've had 2 people leave the church premises and be offed by the street people.
One by Alice Cooper.
We've had at least 2, if not 3 by this point, people like taken over by the liquid stuff.
Yeah.
And the remaining people are kind of like, well, where is everyone? Have they left? We should probably go look for them. And they obviously have no idea about any of what's happened so far. They think that they've just kind of wandered off.
Yeah.
And then they stumble, one of the guys stumbles in on the translator girl, and she's at her computer. Lisa, that's her name. And he's like, "Lisa, we're going to have like a meeting." And she's, you know, blanking him, and he's getting a bit confused, and he starts to wander over, and we see him peer at the computer screen where what she's typing is coming up.
And she's not even looking at the screen, is she?
No, she's just, and it's just complete repeat of I live. I live, I live, I live, I live, I live. And then it changes, and she's basically saying, like, you know, you're not going to escape this, you're going to die, you know.
Yeah. In between all the scientists doing their work and interacting with each other, for the most part, Professor Birack and Priest are stowed away together, and they're having conversations about this fact. So you've got obviously Birack given the theoretical side, and you've got Priest the more religious side, and this takes place over a couple of nights. The movie in general, Priest starts asking about this dream that I believe he might have had. He's asking Birack if he's had the dream, and they end up confronting all the scientists. And Priest asks, "Has anyone had this vision, this dream?" And the vision, the dream it was like outside of the church. We have the camera kind of like moving towards an opening in the church, and in the background we have this voice of this otherworldly voice saying that it can't yet communicate with these people on our level on Earth. So essentially it's coming from tachyon. Via tachyon, this message is being put into everybody's minds. And when the camera is going across the front of the church, what we see is opening to the church is all smoky, and his figure just appears while these voices are saying, "We're going to get to you, but we can't get to you physically just yet." And the whole via tachyon thing is another, it's a theoretical thing like tachyon. It's something that moves faster than the speed of light to get to us, but we can't prove its existence, which is a whole, the whole theory in the movie in general. So it's not just your average dream or vision. There's a theoretical science behind it.
The priest says, "Oh, I know what you were dreaming, because everyone who stays here dreams the same thing. We share the dream." And I got...
Via tachyon.
I got the feeling that this was supposed to be a message of what could be coming in the future. And that clearly, the figure we see is clearly supposed to be like the devil or something.
Yeah.
And this is what you're trying to avoid. That's why they're all doing this research, to see how they can...
And we see it more than once, and it's not necessarily, shown to us in this way, but the first vision we get of the person standing in the archway is a very specific build. Later on, and especially at the end, it's obvious who the person is. So I feel like one person has been given the right vision, and other people, or the tachyon, has managed to show.
I didn't really notice any difference in that
figure. Well, at the end, it's Lisa Blount, and at the beginning, it's clearly a quite big man in a robe putting his hands up, and the reason it's Lisa Blount at the end is, well, we'll get to it. But so again, tachyons. I mean, where has this been put in any kind of horror movie before? It's another movie, not as much in the same way as Angel Heart, but you'll get a lot more out of it if you actually listen to all of the dialogue and what is being said by everybody. So once enough people have been taken over, there's a particular guy who, he's been taken down by the specky girl and the scientist who's been typing "I live, I live, I live," Lisa and the specky girl, and they come up to him, and he almost feels like he's being seduced by them or something. It was going to be his lucky day, because they get him on the floor, and he could easily fight back if he wanted to. He's quite a large guy, but then they spit into his mouth, and he is now obviously turned into a drone. When he goes and sees a bunch of other guys, he hasn't been completely taken over, it seems, because he ends up getting like a broken off piece of wood from a chair or something like that, and he slits across his throat. And everyone freaks out, and they try to save him, and he remains alive, because he comes later on where he's kind of, unbeknownst to him, kind of stalking Priest, because Priest is hiding away. He comes into the same room as Priest, and it's at this point where everyone realises, there is something going on, and we better start taking this seriously.
Well, I think also before this point, there's a blonde woman as well who she's like
Kelly,
complaining that she got some kind of painful bruise thing, and the bruise continues to develop throughout the film into a symbol by the end, and it's Blount who's like, "Oh yeah, I knew I recognised that symbol. It's like some sort of religious mark or something," and we might as well, kind of go right to the end here. They've figured out that stuff is happening. And we've got the Asian guy who I think is
Walter,
who I think is gay, and we get a little joke based on that where he's like, "You wouldn't believe it, but I'm in the closet," because he's hiding from Lisa and the other woman.
He's hiding from Lisa and another woman, and there's
the Specs woman,
and there's a character called Kelly laying on the ground.
And Kelly, the one with the bruise thing, is laying on a bed of some kind.
And behind the the room, the closet where Walter is hiding, we've got Brian, as in Jameson Parker, and Lisa Blount as Catherine, and a couple of other people.
Yeah, a few other people.
A few others.
So they've figured out that these minion things are out to get them because, as you mentioned, they've seen the guy slitting his throat, and things are going wrong. So they've all just hidden where they could. Most of them have ended up in that room, and Walter's in the closet.
When Walter is, because obviously Walter is the comedic relief in this film, and for me personally, I really enjoy Dennis Dunn's performance in this. What do you think of his thing? Do you think it's a bit OTT or?
I think his performance is great.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting that you love it because you were just saying that you didn't enjoy the comedy.
It has to be done in the
Angel
complete
Heart,
right, but this is not as serious a movie, I would say, as
I felt like the
Angel Heart.
Comedy worked better in Angel Heart almost because it's so. It's
OTT.
like he's doing stand-up, basically.
Yeah, it is like he's doing stand-up to the point where when he is hiding in this closet and he's looking at the two ladies who are possessed and he's looking at Kelly on the floor, he's still like cracking all the jokes. And I just want to say one of the jokes that he says. So Walter, in the closet, hiding from demonically possessed Susan and Lisa, who stand outside staring at him. Walter comes up with a joke he heard. He's like, all right. A Jewish mother goes to the airport to meet her daughter. The daughter steps off the plane with an 8-foot-tall Zulu warrior with a bone through his nose. The mother screams, "You fool! I said a rich doctor." Boom, boom. Not a...
Yes, not a witch doctor.
Yeah, good stuff. They don't write them like they used to.
Yeah, he's just continuously cracking jokes.
Until it finally even dawns on him when he's looking at Kelly on the floor, who is now starting to become covered in this incredible, for me anyway, practical makeup effect.
Yeah, it's like she's disintegrating or something, isn't it? And she's clearly, like, her stomach is, like, it's like she's pregnant
ballooning,
or something. Yeah. And he's communicating with the guys on the other side who are trying to break through the wall as well to get to him. But he's basically keeping them updated on what's happening. And he's told them that the two possessed minion ladies are just standing there, whereas Kelly is, like, continuing to deteriorate or progress, depending how you see it.
But then she starts to animate, doesn't she?
She wakes up.
The balloon goes down. And when she wakes up, like I say, this makeup with her exposed eyes and stuff, it freaks me out a bit. She's actually possessed by the devil because she starts to look into the mirror. She's got this little pocket mirror and she's like, "Father, Father," and she keeps saying "father" in this way with this makeup, and that really got to me.
Well, I also thought it was interesting at this point because I thought at the beginning of that little scene where she gets, as you said, this little mirror, I thought she looked like she was devastated, like there was part of her original human being seeing what's happened to her, and she was kind of reacting to that.
There was a bit of that I found.
Do you think?
That's what I
it's hard to tell.
After my fourth viewing in this month, when I was looking at her, I literally was examining her, looking at it, and at first I did think, she's her human side has seen what's happened to her face. And she's kind of, but because she quite quickly starts saying the father thing, I've kind of reinterpreted it as she's more delighted that she's going to see, the anti-god, her dad now. I think it might be the makeup affecting it possibly, but either way, it works both ways anyway.
Because there's another similar point with a different character that comes up in a moment where I had a similar kind of like, wait, what exactly is the emotion going on here? So the two minions at this point are breaking down the closet door, and at the very last second, Walter manages to get through the hole they made, in the wall. So he's saved. Also, during the time that the other group was in that room, mustachioed man,
Jameson Parker, Brian,
has tried to, I guess, go and get help. So he jumps out the window and he's in the alleyway. And very quickly, the street people are converging on him from both sides. So he gets pulled back into the building and they realise, these street people aren't going to let us leave because they're also possessed.
They're trapped, essentially, yeah.
They also try and open the door and try and take down the male minion guy, but, you know, it kind of doesn't work out brilliantly. And in the end, they're all kind of dispersed in various areas. Priest, as you said, has gone off on his own little spot and he's trying to hide. And from where Priest is, he can see into the rest of the room when the guy who slit his throat earlier comes in and gets distracted, I think he went in there chasing the priest, but he gets distracted because there is a gigantic mirror on the wall. And he's like staring at this mirror. And again, this was the point I was about to mention where I'm not entirely sure what the emotion was supposed to be, if there's some human side left to him or not, because we get this, it's a great performance where he's, you know, kind of going in between laughing and crying.
Yeah, he's hysterical in all of the ways, yeah. I'm, again, getting that the more demonic side is overtaking him and he's just more in, you know, rapturous delight that Father is coming. He almost can't comprehend it, I would say, because it's not something anyone's ever seen before, really.
So it's at this kind of point when the possessed
Kelly, the one with
the main demon lady,
who's essentially Satan now,
comes into this room and the mirror kind of turns into
a dimension.
Yeah. So, because we did see her with a little tiny, like, makeup mirror. She kind of got, like, a finger in there or something, but she clearly can't do much more with it. So that's why they're so mesmerised by this gigantic mirror. And, this is kind of like the whole climax of the movie. She is trying to reach in and pull her father, the anti-god, out of this mirror dimension.
And we physically do see her hand go through the other side of the mirror.
And Priest finds an axe and like.
No, hang on. Before I also want to say that the visuals of her hand going through, I've seen it before. I thought it looked quite mesmerizing. I thought it was really cool. The one thing that took away from it is when the anti-god's hand comes into shot. It's almost like a giant Muppet hand. I felt like, oh, maybe they've run out of money here and they can't fashion, you know, a more convincing hand that would belong to the anti-god. I was a bit let down by the hand. Yeah,
it could be such a fine line between looking great and looking just laughable.
There's a small gripe, yeah.
But anyway, Priest obviously knows what's going on, so he finds an axe and he chops her arm off, thinking, well, you know, that's that sorted. But she quickly grows another one.
Yeah, and by the way, when we see her arm go into the other dimension, when it comes back and she's standing there armless, the way that the arm regenerates is again quite striking. It's like you can't do anything because then he decapitates her, doesn't he? And she picks up her own head,
puts it back on,
plonks it back on.
Yes. So we get a lot of individual little things. Everyone's kind of fighting for their lives, and what ends this scene is that our main girl, whose name I always forget. Lisa Blount's character.
Yeah, Catherine.
She essentially, well, she does. She sacrifices herself by taking the devil and jumping into the mirror, and then the mirror is smashed so that
by Priest.
Portal is closed.
Forever, for good.
But Lisa Blount's character is also now just condemned to this other reality. She no longer exists in our world, and her mustachioed lover is quite devastated.
Yeah, Jameson Parker. So you've got, as I said, this only takes place over a couple of days. But when Jameson Parker, Brian, does get Catherine into bed, there's a bit where he's like gone to make coffee and he comes back or whatever, and he's on top of her just talking in the morning, and he's about to say something to her, and she says to him, "Don't say it to me unless you mean it." So it's kind of implied that he's about to say that I love you, right? Like I say, it's been 2 coffee dates, 1 session in the bedroom. I mean, she must be fantastic between the sheets, because he's already fallen in love with her. And like I say, at the end, he's devastated. So the whole Priest has to kind of console him, saying, you know, she sacrificed herself.
She saved the whole world.
Us, and yeah, she saved the whole world. And as I say, he is a physicist himself. He's not quite believing what he's seen. So after this has happened, we see him in his bedroom by himself. He wakes up because he has a nightmare, doesn't he? He wakes up next to someone in his bed, and then he wakes up again into actual reality. And he looks up and he looks at his mirror. And he kind of like goes to touch it, and obviously he's not going to get through it. And it kind of ends at that point. But before it ends, we go back to the message by Tachyon, where we get again the camera crawling across the entrance of the church, and instead of the original vision of this guy in a robe that we've seen, I'm surprised you didn't notice it is now Lisa Blount. It's obviously Lisa Blount's character Catherine, who has come through as the vision. It's almost like she's going to be the anti-god's wife or something like that. She's going to bring upon the apocalypse. She is now living in its reality, as you said. But I think there's more to it than her just living in the reality, because she is shown specifically coming out of the archway in the church, and she's clearly feeling herself. She's got this, it's like a power walk, and she's full of power now. It's I really enjoy this movie. It's a movie that it grew on me. Again, the more and more that I saw it, and the more I would take from it. And even though it does turn into just like classic horror at the end with, possessed people and practical effects and, decapitations, regenerating arms and things like this, it doesn't take away from the more like intellectual side of the film for me. And it's a John Carpenter flick. So we all associate him with, obviously, like I said, Halloween, The Thing, The Fog, Big Trouble in Little China. I actually think this is better than The Fog, and I obviously enjoy The Fog. I like The Fog, but I think this is a better film. What would you say?
Yeah, I think this one's such a weird one, because even though it, as you said, like the dialogue, and it deals with so many very what's the word, academic sort of
different points of view and things. Yeah,
it still comes across to me at the end overall as a little bit silly. So it's hard to say, but it is definitely more so. Unlike Angel Heart, this one, even if you're not really paying attention, I still feel like it would be entertaining. Still get a lot out of it, yeah. And the only other question I had was, there's this whole thing with mirrors, not just in this film with what it represents there, but generally in like ghost hunting and stuff, they say there's
scrying and all that.
There's a lot, mirrors could be like a portal kind of thing, as they're suggesting in this film. But I've always just found that a bit of a weird one, because it's obviously mirrors haven't been around forever. So, the idea of other dimensions and ghosts and all of this, if that exists, then I don't imagine that would have coincided with the
it's not just mirrors, it's
invention of mirrors.
It's anything that casts your reflection or your being, like this belief that having your photo taken takes away from your soul and stuff like this as well. And there are certain religions, I believe it's Jewish, where they cover the mirrors at like wakes and things like this, because they see it as like vanity, and again like kind of taking away from the essence of what you are, looking into it and stuff like that. Would you say, because you've put it's a little bit silly, and I could see that, do you think it deserves, and I'll purposely put it in here, do you think it deserves its place in the thinking man's horror? Because I could have put obviously much more heavyweight stuff in there, but I wanted to just throw in a slight curveball. And also the fact that it's a John Carpenter film. Well,
I would say it yeah, sure, it does count. It's not as confusing as particularly the last one we're going to discuss for me, but it's still got enough. As I said, if you're, as you are, into that kind of thing, Schrodinger's cat, all of these, like, what's real, what's not, it is a thinking man's film.
Yeah. And I think
you can take from it what you want.
That John Carpenter's written this by himself as well. He's got a lot going on up there. And I said, I'm putting this now ahead of The Fog in terms of my rankings of John Carpenter, but I enjoy pretty much every single John Carpenter film, apart from his last one, The Wall. I didn't enjoy too much, but stuff like Escape from LA, I love that film. I even like that film better than Escape from New York. So yeah, the kind of differing, somewhat controversial opinions maybe, but as per usual as well, John Carpenter did the score to this movie. The score is perfect for this film, understated, ominous, all that stuff. And I just want to end it on Jameson Parker's Tash, this mustachioed being. What do you think about the mustachioed lead, especially one as domineering over the face as that? I can't get away from the Tash in this film.
Yeah, Tashes are not my favourite.
There are certain points in the film where Jameson Parker, you can tell that he's a younger man. It's like, oh, he does look a bit younger here, but the Tash just ages him so much that he almost looks like he should be taking, conducting the class rather than taking it. But it obviously works for Lisa Blount's character. May she rest in peace. Unfortunately, she passed away too young. As I say, she won an Oscar alongside Walter Goggins for a short film they made. So multi-talented. And if you haven't seen Prince of Darkness and it's something that's been kind of stowed away, check it out, because like me, you might like it better than The Fog. So on to this week's number one film from 1990, Jacob's Ladder, directed by Adrian Lyne, who also did Flashdance, Indecent Proposal, and Fatal Attraction. So he's not so much, a genre.
You've never seen Flashdance, have you?
No, I have no desire to see Flashdance. Yeah, I've seen what I need to see of it, basically, like that, yeah. And so directed by Adrian Lyne, so this is our second Brit in the director's chair, starring Tim Robbins, Oscar winner, obviously in Shawshank Redemption as well, which didn't win the Oscar for Shawshank, I'm just saying he was also in Shawshank Redemption, which he's most famous for. Got Elizabeth Pena as Jezebel. And we also have small roles for likes of Macaulay Culkin, who is in this.
He looks so cute in this.
We also got Ving Rhames in this in a small role, Jason Alexander, and Eric LaSalle also in a small role. So Jacob's Ladder, this is the first time you've seen this. And we're just going to run over what it's about quickly. So Jacob Singer, played by Tim Robbins, is a postal worker living in a small apartment in New York with his colleague/girlfriend Jezebel, and he's divorced from the mother of his children, one of the children has passed away in a tragic accident. And Jacob, he's a Vietnam War veteran, and he's suffering from dissociation. He's having visions and nightmares, and he's trying to piece together what happened to him in Nahum and what is happening to him in his current state. So where do you want to begin with this? Because obviously this was the one that confuses you somewhat.
This film confuses the heck out of me.
Okay.
Mostly when you get to the ending.
All right.
Because I feel like I understand kind of what they're suggesting, but then the whole rest of the film doesn't make much sense to me.
All right. I guess we'll get there when we get to the end, because if it is quite confusing, we'll run through it in order. I just want to say I think that this is just a magnificent film, an incredible horror movie. Really, it's a horror drama. It's psychological horror. It's something else. I don't know quite a movie like it. So we open up in Vietnam, and we've got our character Jacob, of the title Jacob's Ladder, and he's got a platoon with the likes of Ving Rhames, for instance, and they're all just kind of sitting around being quite pally having a talk, and kind of almost out of nowhere, like a couple of them are smoking a joint, and one of them's like, oh, this is like really strong stuff, and all of a sudden all of them start getting quite sick, quite delirious, not acting themselves. Jacob, who seems to be more of he doesn't seem like he's going to be in action like violently. He's more like of a doctor almost. I was getting the feeling of him.
I think he was exactly the same role as the others, but he is a PhD.
Yeah, he's a PhD guy,
student or graduate or something. So he's just a different type. Yeah, personally.
After the smoking of this joint, and everyone's kind of like starting to feel a bit sick, he goes off by himself. He's in the jungle, and we don't see who, but he gets stabbed. And
the platoon gets attacked. They're told like, oh, the enemies are in the tree line, right?
Maybe. So he gets stabbed, and we don't see who's killed him. We do not see who's killed him. We just see that he gets done by his bayonet. We are now back in New York. And he's riding the subway at night. And he thinks that he's missed his stop, Bergen Street. The first interaction that he has on the subway is with this lady in a scarf. And he's kind of trying to ask her the questions, have we passed Bergen Street? Where are we? And she just stares at him, almost looking through him. Doesn't respond whatsoever. So he's like, okay. He moves on, and the next person that he sees on this train is someone who's kind of like a bit of a down and out, someone that's laid across a couple of chairs. Jacob's about to get off the train, but before he steps off, the down and out has this kind of appendage, this tail that slithers for a little bit, and he kind of looks at it in a confused state. He gets off at his station, but it's locked, so he can't get out onto street level. So he goes back down to the tracks. He has to walk along the tracks, and typical rats running about. We also get shots of kind of the lights coming on and off again, much like Angel Heart, the cinematography in This Is Out of the World. Train starts to come towards him. He's kind of like going back and forth. He ends up having to leap by the side of the tracks. And as the train's going past, there are all these weird faced people looking out at him from the train, not just at the side, but when the train fully goes past, he looks away, and a person at the back of the train is also looking back at him with this kind of disfigured, can't quite tell what it is face. And that's how it opens. It opens very strange. He's not getting any answers from the person he's talking to on the subway. He feels like he might have missed his stop, but he finds it, and when he gets to his stop, he can't get out. And as I say, he's seen this down and out on the train who has this appendage sticking out from underneath his trench coat. What do you make of all that? As just an opening. Whatever.
I mean, none of that seemed particularly weird for me, apart from the obvious, like, the tail thing and the faces in the train. The rest of it, like, even the woman not replying to him, I didn't find that unusual. I feel like there are just a bunch of weird people who take the train at night when no one else is on it.
I've actually been on the subway in New York from Brooklyn back to Manhattan, and you think you can get a bunch of weirdos on London Underground, but it is absolutely true that New York weirdos take it to a whole...
I know, that's what I'm saying.
A whole other level.
That didn't strike me as, unusual.
I'm not saying that in reference to the movie. I'm talking... because that's not the kind of weird that I'm referring to in real life New York. It's just starting off weird in the context of the film and who the person is as well. So you will understand, he's underground. And in the Bible, Jacob's ladder is a dream that Jacob had about a ladder, and at the top of the ladder, at the summit, is God. And there are ascending and descending angels going up and down this ladder. So it's almost like symbolically, the beginning of his journey here is right at the bottom. We're underground.
Right.
So now the next thing we see is him going to see his chiropractor, Louis.
Well, I thought we met Jez first.
We might meet Jez.
I'm pretty sure, because he finally gets home after this, being locked in the underground and everything.
Yes,
and he has a shower, and she's like, "Where have you been?" He's like, "Don't ask."
Yeah, so this is where we meet Jezebel. He's looking through on the bed of old photos and things like this. And
one of his sons has dropped off a bag of photos for him, and that's when we kind of find out about his kids. And also Jez, who, they're living together, they're going out. She doesn't remember what any of his kids are called, which I thought was really strange. And also she mentions, they're all weird names. He says, oh, well, their name's based on the Bible. And she's like, yeah, that's weird. And he says, well, your name, Jezebel, is obviously based on the Bible as well.
As is Jacob, obviously.
That's a bit of a weird thing to say.
Yeah, so they're gonna go off to work. Whether that's they work in the same place or he's a postal worker. And after he goes to work again, he says, "So I'm going to leave early because of this, that, and the other."
Ooh, me back.
Yeah, he's got a very bad back as Jacob. So as I say, I was going to mention Jezebel a bit later, but yeah, you're right. But that is when we see her. we now go, and he's gone to see his chiropractor, Louis. This is when Jacob is looking up at Louis. It's very much white light. Someone's looking down on him who is helping him. An angel, essentially. And much like Angel Heart, you've got to pay attention to the dialogue, because he's doing the adjustments on him. He's like, turn to your right. He turns to his right. He does an adjustment. He says, turn around again. I'm going to do another adjustment. Then he goes up behind him and he says, you know, this one, you have to relax, because this is going to be a deep adjustment. And as he cracks his neck, Jacob has a flashback to Vietnam, I believe. And he kind of comes back into the room, and he says to Louis the chiropractor, does anyone ever tell you that you look like an angel, like an overgrown cherub? And he replies to him, yes, every time you see me. You mentioned this. Now, the deep adjustment is the thing that you've got to hold on to here. The deep adjustment is what sends him back into a vision, and then back into the room. And the more angelic part of it is in the light, is more obvious, right? So this is the first time you see him. After this, he leaves the chiropractor. He's still in his postal uniform, and he's walking to his doctor's. And on the way there, he's chased by a car along this bridge. And much like the subway cart, in the car that's chasing him, we don't know why this car is chasing him, as he manages to evade it, as it drives off, looking back at him are again these weird-faced, strange people. And he's kind of like not getting what's going on at this point, as is anybody. He goes to his doctor's, and he's at the reception, and he's talking to a receptionist. Remember that?
Yeah.
Talking to a receptionist.
But also, I thought he was probably on his way home, and the car thing and the weird faces is what made him go to the doctor's, because he's going to the doctor saying, you know, I'm seeing weird things. I need to talk to my doctor,
Dr. Coulson. So he's talking to the receptionist, and the receptionist is kind of saying that there are kind of no records of him here.
Or even that the doctor is there. She said, like, he's not worked in however long.
And as they're having this to and fro, he's getting very frustrated. He decides that he is going to go and see her. But before he leaves her, she kind of like leans down to get something. Her paper hat falls off. And there's this jagged kind of bone growth.
It's like she's got a couple
coming
of teeth
out the top of her head.
Yeah.
Even talking about it now, I can feel the top of my head. It's a very disturbing image, much like a lot of the other parts. But that is arguably the most disturbing thing that I saw in the film, was this bone growth out of. And the thing is, you only see this for what, 2 seconds maximum. It's not hovered on. It's a blink and you miss it moment. Jacob sees it himself. He then decides he's going to rush through the clinic and get to the room where he knows Dr. Coulson normally works. He gets there, bursts through the doors, but there's a group session going on. Dr. Coulson's not there, so the doctor is there, comes out to speak to him for a little while.
Yeah, and
he informs him that Dr. Coulson has in fact passed away, and his car exploded. His car blew up, which is quite a strange way to go.
But you not already find it weird then? So the secretary lady was like, oh, I have no idea what this Dr. Coulson is that you're talking about. But then the other doctor is like, yeah, he was here, but he's dead now.
We find out later on that this is Michael Newman, who's also been a part of Vietnam. So there's a scene later on where Jacob gets a call from a guy in his platoon, and they meet up in a pool hall, and there's a guy skulking in the background.
Wait, that's him? The doctor?
That's him.
Okay.
And that's also him later on towards the end.
Yeah, I recognised the guy from the pool hall then being the one who comes back later, but I didn't put that together with...
This is the first time we see him here. He's the group therapy doctor. So he goes back home, Jacob, after this, talking to Jezebel again, and they are off to a party.
The music and vibe of this party, I mean, I want to go. I want to go to that party.
You want to go to this party?
Yeah. Looks like so much fun.
So, okay, let's talk about this fun party, right? Tim Robbins, Jacob, is essentially... He's dragged by Jezebel to go to this party, this house party. We're in there, it's dark, it's dank. Jacob, the first thing he does is go to the fridge, Jezebel is straight off to the dance floor. He opens the fridge. In this fun party, there is a skinned goat's head on the top shelf of the fridge. He looks at it, he's like, what the hell is this? He walks around a little bit more. There's a covered cage with a sheet. He opens it. There's a crow just flying about in this cage. Now, you know, Jacob, he's not one for dancing, not as much as Jezebel is anyway. So he's kind of like wandering off, going off by himself. There's a fortune teller sitting on the stairs.
Palm reader.
She's quite a jovial palm reader.
And she certainly likes the look of him as well.
Yeah, they get a bit of a flirt going on. And so he lets her read his palm and she's saying the regular stuff. Gets to his lifeline and almost flippantly says, judging by this lifeline, you're already dead. Jezebel then shows up at the side of the stairs looking up and says, oh, you flirting? Come and join me finally on the dance floor. He decides to finally, you know, satiate Jezebel, join her on the dance floor. And you got to give absolute credit to Tim Robbins in this film in general. Everything that he does and the way that he feels about everything that he's doing is totally believable. And the most that it comes across for me is in the dancing, because he gets on there, everyone's really cutting loose, and he's like, yeah, like Tim Robbins is knocking this entire performance out of the park. He doesn't really want to be dancing, so he cuts it short pretty quickly. Jezebel, very unhappy about this, she starts grinding on another guy, and as Jacob's walking off the dance floor, we get our first instance ever of your favourite wobbly face demons, which we would have seen later on in the William Malone movies Fear.com and House on Haunted Hill.
Well, I'm sure it's in loads of movies.
I was about to name some more before you got into me. They also have the remake.
Sorry, I shouldn't say a word.
The remake of Carnival of Souls, but never has it been more effective than what it is in Jacob's Ladder, in this party scene on the dance floor. And at the same time that he's seeing this wobbly face, we're also seeing the goat's head from the fridge close up, and it's kind of chattering away, all bloodied. He's also seeing just people with like large mouths laughing in a very maniacal way. He looks back over at Jezebel, and she seems to be being cloaked by this. You don't see it all. You don't see everything that it is, but you see wings. You see kind of black wings. And again, like the guy in the subway, the down and out, this thing also has an appendage, a tail-like pointy appendage. And it turns out that she is either being ape-rayed or is willingly being taken.
Oh, she definitely looks like she's enjoying it.
By this demon on the dance floor. So much so that it's getting so intense with all these visions that the end of the appendage, the tail, pops through the top of her mouth before Jacob ends up passing out on the floor. So what is it that was fun about this party for you?
The
then?
Music was great, and everyone looked like
James
they were
Brown.
really dancing up a storm.
But do you not get that they are all hellish demons?
Oh, they look like they're having a lot of fun.
Well, I guess hell is supposed to be kind of fun in a way, but this is not the kind of no. Now, when you said you're confused at the movie, you think that looks like a fun party. I'm kind of like trying to get into your mindset here.
Yeah, well, like the crow, the skull, all that stuff wasn't what I was thinking of. I was just like, the vibe is so crazy and the music's great. Looked like fun.
Yeah, I'm not sure demon copulation on the dance floor and snapping goats' heads is
Yeah, that wasn't what I was referring to either. You're just going, we're clearly seeing different parts of this party. Because, yeah.
No, there's one party. There is one party. I didn't see any fun parts of the party. I just saw the complete discomfort for Jacob.
Yeah, because he doesn't like dancing.
No, because he's in hell. He's absolutely in hell. They go back home and Jezebel mentions that she is absolutely embarrassed by his behaviour at this party. But she doesn't get to have a go at him for too long because he's really starting to burn up. Really burn up. They have to put him into an ice bath, which he feels like he doesn't want to be in because he feels like he's actually freezing
Yeah, as you do when you're having a fever. I think it's very like interesting as well where they go with Jezebel's character, because she goes, it's quite realistic I suppose, but it goes between her doing things where you're like, wow, she's a piece of work, to then moments where she's really caring and loving.
Yeah, that's the deceitful side of her, because she is Jezebel. That's really obvious, as in because it's her name. I mean, and when there's another part where she's having a go at him about being a bit of a layabout and a bit of a mope lately, and we see her eyes turn to black, she momentarily reveals what is beneath the surface. Interestingly enough, there's a cut scene from the movie where Jezebel actually does reveal fully what she was and what she is demonically, but they cut it. They cut it from the film. So in this, with him overheating, obviously, yeah, he has a fever. But for me, it's him, as I say, he started off in the subway, he's below, he's in hell. He's now living with Jezebel in this tiny little apartment, working this job which he shouldn't be working, because his chiropractor Louis has said to him, you're a PhD, you're a smart guy, you shouldn't be working here, you should be out doing other things. The burning up for me is again a symbol of him being in hell, and the heat, the hot heat that would be down there. Right, so they put him into the ice bath, which is almost, it feels like it's even worse for him being in the ice bath, that they managed to get him down from his 106 degree temperature which he's at, and he ends up, all the people also that are surrounding him in the bathtub are much like the large mouthed, like, laughing people on the dance floor, except that they're not laughing, they're just kind of all looking down on him. At this point, there's a lot of him being looked down upon in the entire movie.
They just seem like concerned neighbours to me.
They didn't seem like concerned. I mean, if that were my concerned neighbours, I would want to be moving out of that apartment ASAP. When he wakes up after the ice bath, he has a vision somewhat of his original life with his ex-wife.
Yeah.
He's in bed now complaining about the cold and the windows open, and he's telling her about a dream / nightmare where he's had,
where he lived with Jezebel.
And yeah, he's living with Jezebel, who they both know from working where they work, it seems. And he's enjoying the fact that Jezebel has been having her way with him in this nightmare dream. He says he comments on her tremendous thighs and stuff like this, and he also says that he was burning up. So the vision, him burning up in the apartment and then going into the ice tub, is also the dream that he's having. Yeah, which he's describing with his wife.
Yeah, I got that.
No, I'm not saying that. I was just describing for the viewer. So what do you think of that him now being with his wife and describing that as being not the reality that he's actually in? It's actually a dream that he had, supposedly.
Well, again, I'm confused, because like at this point in the film I was like, wait, are they, like, is this real or is this not real? Like, has what we've seen so far actually been a dream and he's now in a different reality, or is it not? And then his dead son shows up, and he puts him to bed, and the other two sons are there.
Ask him not to go.
And then we get him back in his Jezebel life. So again, I didn't really understand. I don't get it.
When he's back after the scene with his ex-wife, and he's talking about Jezebel, we are now back in the apartment, and he's finding all these books everywhere on demonology, on the occult, which clearly all belong to Jezebel, because he's looking at them more as in like, okay, what are these? It's not.
Oh, I thought he was trying to figure out like what these tail things are that he keeps seeing everywhere. I thought he'd like borrowed the books from the library or something.
No, these are Jezebel's books. These are books that are in the apartment. Yeah, demonology, hell, and the occult. And this is the point where Jezebel, as I previously mentioned, does that black eye reveal, and she's having a go at Jacob because he's kind of not. He's not being a sociable or anything like this, kind of hiding away and everything. And she leaves the apartment and tells him, if you're not going to, help yourself, I'm going to go out, because at least one of us should be having a good time. Which implies to me that Jezebel is obviously in hell along with him.
Right, yeah.
And she's saying at least one of us should be having a good time, which implies to me that even though Jezebel is a part of hell, that and we've seen her at the party and all this kind of thing, and somewhat enjoying it, at least in your eyes, on the dance floor and stuff like that, that she's never having a good time, no matter what she's doing. And it's almost like a message, one of us should be having a good time, one of us should be, and it's even though I'm saying, I'm going to go out and do what I want, it's never clearly her, no matter what she's doing.
I thought she was just getting ready to go to work at the post office, and she was bored of working all the time, so she was like, well, you're not working, you might as well go out and have a good time.
All she's doing is keeping Jacob there. So we get the book there. It's not long after that at the apartment he gets a call from his platoon mate Paul, and he reveals to him that he's also been having the same experiences, the same problems, the same visions. So Jacob goes to meet him at this pool hall, and Paul's brought along with him the Bible. He's saying nothing is helping, nothing's making it go away, and he says very frankly, I am going to hell. And when Jacob then reveals to him that he's also having the same kind of visions, he gets a bit of relief, and he's kind of like thinking, oh, maybe it was something to do with us being at war. It's then revealed in the background of the pool hall that we have I guess you want to call it the replacement for Dr. Coulson earlier on, the doctor that was taking the group therapy sessions. He told him that Dr. Coulson died in that exploding car. We see him kind of skulking about. They both leave the pool hall because Paul freaks out. He starts to freak out a little bit, and he's kind of disturbing the other patrons. So they decide to leave the pool hall. There's also a bit of boxing going on there. They get outside, and Paul, he gets back into his car, and all of a sudden his car blows up.
Yeah, but also this, I'm sure it's significant. I don't really understand what the significance is, but obviously the both of them are supposed to be getting into his car.
Yeah.
And the only thing that stops Jacob is that he finds a lucky penny on the floor, and he's bending over to pick it up, and it suddenly flies out of his grasp, and that's when the explosion happens. But again, I'm like, so why is he being saved from this explosion?
More what I was thinking was about the whole Dr. Coulson thing. So we've been told that Dr. Coulson's motor is also blown up, and that's how he's died. But as far as I can tell, he wasn't part of the platoon. He's just the doctor, right? Whereas Paul is part of the platoon, and now his car has exploded. So I was trying to piece together what is the exploding car thing, because clearly what's happened here is it's just showing that Paul is dead no matter what, right? And the lucky thing is the other doctor pulling him away from the exploding car, and he's keeping Jacob around for the time being, so that in this state he can figure out what the hell is going on. And the best way to figure that out is, okay, I've seen one of my platoon die, now I'm going to meet up with all of my platoon at the wake of Paul. And then when he goes to see the platoon, for the most part, a lot of them are also suffering from the same dissociation, the same visions, the same nightmares. We see when they're discussing it, Ving Rhames' character is sitting with a bottle of beer, and his hand starts to shake and he drops his beer on the floor. It's only the kind of American Italian type of guy who's kind of like poo-pooing the whole thing. They all decide that something must have happened to them in Vietnam. So they decide that they're going to go and pursue a lawyer and put forward like a class action suit. And this is when we get now Jason Alexander of Seinfeld fame as the lawyer, and he decides that, yeah, as long as you all put forth what has happened to you, your testimony, I will take on your case. All of a sudden everything's looking up for them, because clearly they believe that something must have happened.
They all leave in very high spirits, but then almost immediately
there's another phone call.
Jezebel passes on a phone call message from the lawyer saying that all of the other guys have dropped out, so they have no case anymore. Yeah, and Jacob obviously goes to track down... Well, first of all, he tries calling his platoon mates and gets through to one of them.
Yeah, Eric LaSalle.
Who's very much like, we're not going to pursue it. I can't tell you why. I'm not telling you anything. And when he hangs up...
Don't call us again. Yeah.
And when he hangs up the phone, the camera pans out and we see that...
Ving's there. Ving Rhames is there.
Like the rest of them all
in
together.
a very darkened room. They're all together in a very darkened room. And also, he doesn't put the phone back on the hook. He leaves it off the hook so there can be no more contact. again implying, much like Paul has already realised that he is dead. That's why we get to see him explode in the car. These guys have already come to the conclusion that they are no more. That's why they're all together, as they were as a platoon, in this darkened room, and no longer can Jacob get a hold of them. That's what I'm getting from this. I'm not saying that this is completely cut and dry. I'm saying this is what I am getting from this, and obviously it's all to do with what happens later on in the movie as well, which I'm peeling back and seeing that this is what I'm taking from it. So after the lawyer pulls out and he goes and confronts the lawyer. He asks Jason Alexander, what the hell are you doing, blah blah blah. Jason Alexander kind of tells him, you were never even in Vietnam. You were just deployed to somewhere like, let's just say Cambodia or something like that. You were almost used as a test bunch for this, that and the other. Jacob doesn't believe him. As he leaves the courthouse, he's then appended by two like street toughs, almost like gangster style toughs. They drag him into the back of a car, and they say to him, you've been running your mouth, you need to keep your mouth shut, yada yada yada, that kind of thing. At this point,
so it seems like some kind of conspiracy.
It's almost like it's going to be a government conspiracy.
And that's why the rest of his platoon is drawn out. They've been threatened, and now he's being threatened, and that's why the lawyer couldn't find any evidence that he'd been in Vietnam, even though, we've been shown that he was there, and also he confirms it for himself by going back to, I think, his apartment, and he's got like a box of stuff, and it's got his dog tags,
his honourable discharge certificate.
Yeah, confirming all this stuff. So yeah, it seems like there's some kind of conspiracy.
Yeah, so like you said, it seems like a government conspiracy. So he manages to, relieve himself from the situation in the back of the car with his two street toughs. And as he rolls out onto the street, as we know, he's got a bad back. So as he's rolled out onto the street, his back goes again, and up comes a sidewalk Santa.
One of those Santas.
Charitable Santas. But the Santa's not very charitable. He takes Jacob's wallet, and the wallet has the photo of his deceased son. Now we're getting into I haven't even mentioned, so when we're at the party, the whole party scene for me is just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's groundbreaking stuff as well, with the first time with the wobbly head, which is, as everything in this movie, is in camera effect. It's all physically real. You just get the guy to stand there very still, put the camera to 4 frames per second, get him to wobble his head about, and then play it back at normal speed. And that's how they managed to do this. Also, the demon that is having its way with Jezebel, that is all real stuff. It's not CGI, it's not effect, it's something that's actually exists there. Now, after we get to Sidewalk Santa, Jacob is picked up, and we see now this journey through this almost like dilapidated hospital. This was the bit that
I thought was
on a gurney.
The best.
But that's why I had to quickly go back to the party, because I wanted to just mention how incredible that. And this scene is also, again, like my hair is standing up on end. This gurney journey through the hospital is, again, we've seen many a gurney scene where people are being attended to, or people are being worked on in terms of operations and stuff. This one just takes the cake in terms of quality and symbolism, cinematography, and the feeling.
It's quite different, though, to anything else, I think, because this one's obviously not supposed to be grounded in reality, whereas the rest of them are. As
he's being wheeled through in his gurney, again, he has these people, once again, not for the first time, looking down on him. They're supposed to be doctors, they're supposed to be people who are there for his welfare, and they're asking all these questions, and they don't seem overly concerned, and obviously not taking him seriously, because there's this one slight joke where they said him, well, who took your wallet? And he says, Santa Claus! And it gets back to it, and as he's being wheeled through, there are people strewn all over the floor, people who have deformities or like missing limbs.
And also we get the grate
above him
ceiling.
Is the grate. People who, again, are disfigured, and they're kind of crawling about the grate. And the way that it's edited and things like this, you see it for a second, it goes back, you see it for a second again. So you're seeing very disturbing stuff, but it doesn't linger on it quite long enough for you to catch everything. And we see the wheels of the gurney
going over like chunks of flesh.
It's actually the further it goes in, the further it goes into the hospital, it then changes from people being on the floor who, as I mentioned, are missing limbs. Then we get the bit above him, and then further it goes in, we again get to the room where there are now just limbs all over the floor and blood spattered, kind of like shower curtain type material everywhere.
I mean,
And
this is clearly not just a hospital.
this is harrowing stuff. This is again a scene just taken just by itself, which for me just can't be bettered. And none of it. So we're seeing people with no limbs and stuff, seeing severed limbs. It's all real stuff. There are no effects here. There is no crappy CGI here. It's all actually happening. They finally get him to this dark room, and they put him in the what do you call it when they screw?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that would be called, but something to keep him steady, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, and all of a sudden, even though it's obviously very sinister when he's being gurneyed through, it's all kind of in light. He's now in a very dark room, and the doctors are telling him, you're not going to escape this place. He's asking, like, where the hell am I? And they're telling him, well, you're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead.
Oh, and Jezebel's there.
And then Jezebel comes out in like a smock as a nurse, and she's not replying to anything that he says, and he's about to be, someone's about to go to work to him. This evil doctor. He's a very evil doctor. He's an evil doctor who's about to go to work on him, who's screwed his apparatus to his head. There's something about as well the screwing of any medical apparatus to you. So I once knew someone who had, much like me, a pin in their leg, but they had the bolts outside of the leg, and there's something about bolts and mechanical screws outside of the body that just sends like just this very uneasy feeling through my body.
But it's also, I mean, it's clearly not comfortable, and there's no care taken of the patient.
No.
So again, it like harks back to the realism of the tortures and experiments that went on in, especially
Absolutely.
mental asylums and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that gives it such
It's
queasy
also mentioned
connotations.
when we get to the part of the gurney journey, when we get to the part with all the severed limbs on the floor, we get shots also of the trolley-like wheels which are on the gurney.
Yeah.
And one of them is slightly off, it's not on balance. And Adrian Lin actually made the wheel off balance himself. He's like, no, we need it to be even more, disconcerting than what it is. And when they film just the wheels going, even the wheels going, it's incredibly effective. And just before they turn him into the dark room where they're about to work on him, we once again get a wobbly face guy, but this guy has no bottom half to his body. He's kind of strapped to this apparatus. It's almost like gym horse. You know what I mean? It's like strapped to gym horse, and he has a circus-like strongman physique. He's a huge guy, and again, his head is, I think he's also got a sack on his head or something, and he has the wobbly head. It's just visions everywhere you look, disturbing stuff everywhere you turn. Luckily for Jacob, he has again another vision of his ex-wife and his children coming into the hospital, and they're again saying to him, Daddy, come back to us, come home. And even more luckily for him, his chiropractor Louis shows up at this demonic hospital, and he's instantly met with, get the hell out of here. But he fights his way through. He threatens the doctors, the nurses. He gets to Jacob. He says, what the hell are you doing to him? This is barbaric. You're hurting him. And he swipes at a guy with a piece of medical equipment, and he manages to wheel Jacob out of there, which actually, it reminded me of my own experience in hospital, actually, when I was treated appallingly in hospital. Everyone goes on about the NHS and how wonderful it is, and people assume that if you're a nurse, you just must be a wonderful person. I can tell you that is absolutely not true. Much like just if you're a religious person doesn't mean that you're a good person. So yeah, this is parallels to my own real life, where, and I'm not over exaggerating, the way that Louis the chiropractor wheels Jacob out of this hospital and the stuff that he's saying to him, like watch your feet, when he puts him through the swinging doors and things like this, and the way that he's berating everybody is exactly the way that my uncle acted when I was turfed out of hospital way too early than I should have been, and left to suffer on my couch for months on end. Anyway, back to the actual film. Louis now takes him back to his chiropractic room, his chiropractic ward, and he's fixing his back again. And before we get into the scene, I just want to say from the beginning, just the adjustments and the noises, all incredibly effective watching it. They had a real chiropractor on set so that they could get it medically correct as well, and show what they actually do. as a real thing. So when he's there, obviously his back is completely put out. So now Louis is again he's fixing his back again, but this time he's strapped to this again another kind of like medical gurney because he can't move whatsoever. And as Louis is fixing him, he says, he saves him and rules him out, and he's explaining to Jacob almost the whole story, and everything is really explained through Louis the chiropractor from the first time we see him for the rest of the movie. And he said to him at this point, the only part of you that burns in hell is the part of you that won't let go of your previous life. And if you're frightened of dying, you will see devils tearing your life away. But if you've made your peace, then the devils are really angels freeing you from the earth, and it's a matter of how you see it. And Jacob, as we've seen throughout all this, from the subway and onwards, and the party to the hospital, he's in a hell. He's in his own personal hell. And at this point, we're obviously not supposed to know if it is a real life or not. But the way that Louis explains stuff, it kind of does give you an inkling as to what maybe is going on here. And finally, when Louis has said all of this stuff and he's cracked him back into position, he lifts him up in the gurney so he's upright, and he says to Jacob, come and walk. He's like, what do you mean, like by myself? And he says, yeah, just trust me. And obviously Jacob then steps onto the floor and he sees that he can walk again. And then we get the hallelujah. It's a bit on the nose from Louis the character, but he gives a hallelujah. And after this, he can walk away by himself. It's now at this point where he goes back home, and that's where he starts going through all the things, and he finds the honourable discharge. I keep saying dishonourable. The honourable discharge, the dog tags. He also finds like a drawing / letter from his son saying, "Daddy, please come home again." And Jez now comes home. Jezebel comes back home. And she is again, she's doing that thing that you were saying. She's now stopped being mad at him. She's doing her deceitful thing and trying to keep him where he is. She's like, oh, hey, honey, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But luckily for him, this interaction is interrupted by another phone call. And it's a phone call from the Chemical Welfare Unit boffin, it turns out, who has been the doctor at the beginning, and the guy skulking. So his name is Michael Newman. And he tells Jacob to come and meet him, but absolutely under no circumstances let anyone know you'll be coming, don't be followed, all this stuff. He meets him in the back alley. And now, do you remember what happens here with the conversation?
Yeah. The guy was like producing his own illegal drugs before or just during the war. And instead of...
Yeah, sorry, baby, yeah.
Instead of being sent to jail, he was given the option to be sent to Vietnam and work for the government at creating like certain drugs
for 2 years
for stuff. And part of the assignment that he worked on was, I've forgotten what it's called, the drug that he produced, but
I might have. I know what the actual drug is called.
What did they call it? The ladder or something?
Yeah, it was the ladder, of course, because it's
ladder.
to do with Jacob. Yeah, the ladder is what they called it. Yeah.
So he's explaining to Jacob that they created this thing that was supposed to make you like amplify all of your greatest fears and this feeling in your body, so that you become ultra aggressive and, I guess, fearless in a way. And, he was explaining how they'd tested it out on chimps and how they'd torn each other apart.
Yeah.
And how they then used Jacob's platoon as the first like human guinea pigs. Yeah. And he explains to Jacob then, because as you mentioned, we don't see very much. In that very beginning scene in Vietnam, we hear one of his platoon being like, quick, there's figures in the tree line and all hell breaks loose. So we're assuming there's like actual war stuff going on with the enemy. But we don't see anything. Turns out the guy says, well, we just administered the drugs to you and you all turned on each other. And I think is this as well when we see who stabbed him?
Possibly, or just a little bit further on. But as I said, when Michael Newman says that they tested on chimps first and they tore each other apart, ultra violence. When they gave it to the first lot of humans, he said it was even worse, and he wasn't aware that human beings could do that to one another. So it just gives this vision of what was actually happening. if they're being worse than, baboons, for instance. Yeah. So they were actually, it was that the drug was put in the unit's food supply, is what he mentions.
I thought it was. I assumed it was through the smoke.
That's to deceive you, because Michael Newman says that it was put into the food supply. Yeah.
Because I thought that was also a reason why Jacob had kind of avoided it, because as you said, he kind of runs off into the forest. That could also well be. I'm just saying for a fact that Michael Newman does say it was put into the food supply. Because we see him going to his platoon mate's aid when they seem to be doing badly. And then he runs into the forest jungle for safety, and then he gets
it is now, you're right, it is now that it is revealed that he was killed by his own platoon. So they also, as I said at the beginning, we don't see who's killed him, we just see that he's been stabbed. You just assume it's an enemy infiltrating their space, but no, it's the drug that they've been given, all turn on each other. He's managed to stay away from it somehow. He's been off. There's also been other flashbacks in the movie of him being carried in a chopper, injured in Vietnam.
Well, we see it right from the start when he's crawling through the jungle, and the guys who are obviously there to try and find survivors, kind of, you see from his perspective, they're like, oh, his guts are all hanging out, we should just shove him back in. And then you were going to say about the chopper.
The bit in the chopper is my favourite part, though, because instead of just kind of dwelling on the full human being and seeing what the injuries are, what you have is a shot of Jacob laying down, and just infiltrating the shot is just a pointy severed limb. You don't see the rest of the person's body, but there's someone there with just half an arm. And for some reason, it's so much, for me anyway, it's so much more affecting than seeing the whole thing. It's almost like they're teasing you with it. They're taunting you with this severed limb just in frame, and you don't get to see the rest of it.
No,
it was more gruesome to me.
I think it's completely just a fact that is the way our brains work. Again, it's the same as not showing the monster, and the same as he says, oh, the chimps did this to each other, and he goes into some details. But then when he talks about the humans, all he says, oh, and it was worse, I didn't know people could do that, because there's nothing they could say where we would be like, oh my god, that's horrendous, because whatever we make up in our minds is going to be the worst thing that we could possibly think of. So it makes sense to just you show a little glimpse, but then you let the viewer come to their own conclusion.
That there is too much in movies today where, if you want to call it the door, they open the door and they show you everything that has gone on, and for the most part it's underwhelming. This movie, the door is kept shut, it's only kind of hinted at, and it leaves you open to it, and it leaves a much more devastating effect than anything that they could have shown. So Michael Newman, he's come to Jacob because he's made this drug, and he eventually says that he feels that he is completely responsible,
and he was also
for what happened
against
to him.
it,
and he was against it, because he calls himself just a hippie chemist,
and he was trying to warn the government or whoever's in charge of the army not to, that the consequences will be bad, but they obviously decided to give it a go anyway.
After this all revealed to him, Jacob is kind of a bit the wiser. He gets into a cab now at night time, and he says, take me home, this is all I have, this is everything I have, just please take me home. And the cab driver says to him, where's home? And we assume he's going to go back to Jezebel in his apartment. Instead, he arrives at this building, and there's a doorman outside who greets him very warmly, like he's known him for a long time. He steps into the building, and he's kind of looking around it like he does know it, but he's not ultra familiar just yet. But he does then manage to get up to his old apartment, it seems, and he's sitting there. And now we get the voiceover again of the chiropractor Louis about the whole, it depends how you're seeing these people. If you're hanging on to life, it's going to feel like you're being torn apart. But if you come to terms of what's happening, they're really just angels who are trying to get you out of here. And that kind of washes over him. And you could say that end is a little bit, maybe not tacky or something like that, but little Macaulay Culkin appears at the end of the season. Macaulay Culkin, his son, is dead, he's passed away, but Macaulay Culkin has managed to find his way to heaven, to the top of the ladder, and now finally, through all the messages, through please come home, daddy, don't leave us, stuff like this, Jacob is, and through the angel that is Louis, he's managed to find his way now back to where he should be and accepting of what his fate is. And he goes to Macaulay Culkin in quite a touching moment, and they go up the remaining flights of stairs, and now we're back in Nam, we're back in Vietnam, and we're in the hospital tent, and there are two doctors standing around Jacob, and they say essentially he's gone. This is it, he's finally gone. And one of them mentions how at peace he now finally looks. And that's pretty much then the end. And for me, then that shows that time, when you are dying, time in reality isn't a real thing anymore. It's not something that applies to you anymore. So that's why you can have a almost 2-hour movie of him figuring out, after being killed, what is happening to me, where am I going to go. So in the 2 hours, really in reality, it's probably only a few minutes in his real life while he's laying on this table in Vietnam, maybe even 20 minutes. Who knows how long he might have been able to stay alive on the gurney. Maybe it was the full 2 hours. I'm just saying that time in reality doesn't have to exist at the same time when you're dying. And it was hard for him to accept that he has been killed. And it was all of these. It was everyone trying to keep him in hell, and he had to make his own way out. And he had to be told by Louis to see everything in a different way to finally get him to realize as to where he needed to be. And there are different ways that you can take the movie. That's what's so good about it. So the entire movie, essentially, apart from the scenes in Vietnam, it's not real. It's all just what's been happening. It's him failing to let the last part of his life, failing to let go, like Lou was telling him. And if you don't let go fully, then demons will keep you down. And he finally is able to let go at the end.
No, that's completely what I got to. So obviously, when they show him, eventually dead on the gurney in Vietnam, it's like, okay, clearly he never left Vietnam, and yes, everything that we've been shown throughout this is not actually happened in the real world. But then that's almost what confused me more about it, because sure, I get the symbolism with things like Jezebel and the demon things and things happening that seem hellish, but then there are other parts that confuse me with, like, the drug explanation and stuff. Like, how would he come to that himself in his kind of like dream state?
How would
Jacob? Yeah, because this
Jacob...
is obviously all happening in Jacob's like mind, in his subconscious, whilst he's fighting for life, right? That's what they're insinuating. And then you were saying a lot of things about how, these represent demons and he's trying to get out of hell towards heaven or whatever. But
I also think possibly Michael Newman is still alive, and that's how he manages in the dream state to save Jacob and show Jacob the way. And that's why he was always there from the beginning. He's the new doctor for him. He's the one that's going to work out what is going on in his head, because that's why he's gone to see Dr. Coulson. It's not a physical injury, it's more mental.
But he never saw Dr. Coulson, obviously, did he?
No, but he is now the representation of Dr. Coulson, and he's the one that eventually gets him out of it. He's the one that feels responsible. I feel like he is still alive. He wasn't part of the...
But then how would he be in Jacob's subconscious if he's never even met him?
Because he's there as... Well, it's just a whole angel thing.
And
you have
why
to take a more
the
biblical
moments
sense
where he's
of the movie,
going back to his old life thing? I don't know. I put this number 1. And there's so many great things about this film, but I still just find it confusing. I don't feel like it fits.
No, I feel
any
like
one theory.
I feel like what we've gone through there is what is actually happening. So yeah, it's not actually happening. What we see in the movie isn't actually happening. So he is in Nam, stuff like that, and all the other stuff. I think it is open to interpretation, and that is what is so wrong with today's movies as well. There was also a little bit at the end of the film, it comes up in text, and it says that the hallucinogenic drug BZ was allegedly used on troops in Vietnam, which had the same effect as it brings out your violent, ultra sadistic side, and the Pentagon has denied it. But there are rumours going around that this was administered to American troops in Vietnam. I also just want to say, instead of just, saying about, trying to work out what the movie is kind of a thankless task, really, in many ways, like trying to put it all into a nice, tight, neat little package. It's more about how the movie makes you feel as well. Like at the end, it's quite, I don't know, it's cold, like chilling. Maybe it's not like, it's not a happy ending, even though he's gone to see, he's found his kid again. It was more, I don't even know how it makes me feel.
I still feel like the only overall thing that I'm like, yeah, that can't really be questioned, is that they're suggesting that death isn't something to be feared, and as long as you're just cool with it,
I'm cool with it,
then it's gonna be fine. That's the only real overall thing that I got that I can say for definite. I feel like, yeah, they was trying to say that, because everything else is just like one question leads to another for me.
It almost doesn't matter how it ends. It's about what you've been seeing on the screen anyway. As I go back to it, straight from the opening, I love the subway scene. I love the party scene. I love the gurney scene. I love all of that. I think they're just some of the best scenes just in film ever for me. And as I've mentioned already, in-camera effects, all in camera. The originator of wobbly face, right? No cruddy CGI. Everything is real, so it keeps you immersed in the movie. I actually had a nightmare the night after we watched this, and it was directly related. That the imagery that I had in my nightmare is directly related to Jacob's Ladder. It's not the imagery that I had wasn't something we actually saw in the movie as something, this was 100% what we saw, but it was absolutely engineered by the movie Jacob's Ladder. And I've never had a nightmare or anything like that after watching, a freaking CGI movie or a cruddy recent remake with digital effects and stuff. It had to be something that was real like this. And there was something. I was reading a review. The guy's name was Ramstar22, to give him his credit, and he said something which I couldn't put in better words myself. So I just want to quickly read it. It says, "This film could not have been made now. There is just no way that the quality would still remain, nor the genuine terror. Today, psychology has been replaced with cliché, and story has been replaced by CGI. To think of truly great horror, none have been made post-visual effects era." I started to think about that, and I think he's right. "The fact that this film is not ruined by quick editing, over-stylized cinematography, and flashy effects is a testament to the time in which it was made. The dry, washed-out colour, grainy, gritty appearance, and subtle ambient score are all a credit to the late 80s, early 90s, an era when the practicality of effects added to the realism, not detracted. Because of this, the story, plot, and characters take over, a rare occasion in today's films." And I'd agree with all of that. So no to CGI. Get back to actual real filmmaking, and we need more stuff like this, in my opinion. If you can believe it, and I know it comes as a shock, but can you fathom that they remade this movie? They remade it, and it is more shoddy, more pathetic than you could ever imagine. From everything, from the slight changes they make to the story, to the imagery, to the actors portraying the characters, who are pretty much abysmal. One of them describes himself as an activist first, actor second. So that for one, he's going to be a complete twat, and secondly, that he just absolutely can't act, and he can't. I can't get through into words how bad the Jacob's Ladder remake was.
But also to remake something, surely you have to understand it to its most minute detail. And I don't see how anyone could do that.
The things that you say have.
I'm not even sure the filmmaker really knew what they were doing the whole time.
I'm not sure that the people that did the remake understood it on any level. They're just taking bits of it and going, "Oh yeah, let's just redo that. Let's just redo that." And also, instead of it just being left open, they have it. "Oh no, he was on drugs. Everything has been seen is because of a drug hallucination." So it's "Oh, there, it's all wrapped up for us now." Well,
I also, after we watched this, I was so confused that I looked online, for sort of explanations of the film, and they're all just so like an overall thing. You know, it explores trauma, it explores this. I was like, yeah, I get all of that.
Yeah, that's obvious, isn't it? Yeah.
But I want the like thoughts behind every single scene.
You're not going to get that, unfortunately. I know that's what you always want, isn't it? You don't want opening, but then again, is not Heathen open-ended to a certain extent? Barely anything is explained. You just have to go with it, and it's more about film making. It's about
I don't like
images.
things like explained to me right there on screen. Like this is I like to delve, but I like to delve when there is an answer and a reason.
But what if you just have multiple answers and there is no wrong, there is no right?
Yeah, that frustrates me. Like David Lynch, you know, just like, oh, there's no reason. It just came to me. I'm like,
yeah. I once again, I think this is just a magnificent film, and yeah, to try and remake it, they're also trying to remake Angel Heart as well. I found out after we watched it, I was like, why bother? Just why bother? Why bother with any of it? So I'd recommend all three of these movies. I would especially recommend Jacob's Ladder. I can't get across enough how incredible I think this movie is. It's because it's left an effect. You know, it's left an effect. I've had nightmares. I've been thinking about it without being able to completely tie it up and stuff like this. And that's what I like. The Thinking Man's Week. Next week we'll go back to the stupidity or something probably.